welcome to the episode of Just the Dungeon Master. My name is Alex K, and I am that Dungeon Master. Welcome to episode 68 of Don't Trust the Dungeon Master, the Arkelya campaign. We're here. I don't know. As far as announcements, we didn't play last week, but we kind of had that well documented in advance. And I got nothing new. I mean, we're playing next week. We're playing the weeks after that. No current known absences to my knowledge for a while. And yeah, don't forget to check out Primerus Paradox on Saturdays if you have another campaign you want to digest in your week. Thanks for the popcorn spam. Delicious popcorn. All right.
Eat it.
We can move on to maybe I should move the camera over there. So there's some little art that was made here of our white tabaxi. It's not present there for your glory. Okay, let's get to last episode. So, Heartseeker, that's the name you guys decided to name yourself. The identity of your collective group.
Say it like that.
Heading west to the western states, the western half of the Kingdom of Windheim. You guys are trying to deduce what has caused the Silent Plague and hopefully find a remedy to the Silent Plague. Along the way, you stop by a facility that's dedicated to connecting to things far, far from the realm space you happen to be in. And because you were besieged by Roderick's patron, that which Hordes, or Elrian, whichever name you'd like to give him, because he wants to have Roderick repair the braiding. But Roderick didn't have to repair the braiding, but since Roderick was dragging you guys into this, it kind of indicates he's probably going to repair the braiding. So you guys went through this underground facility dedicated to eldritch horrors, battled your way through things, solved many puzzles, and ultimately got to the final chamber where you defeated the Guardians and then did a ritual to allow Roderick the means to connect to his patron. And after you completed the ritual, Roderick finds himself in an organic room of pulsing flesh. He telepathically reaches out to the walls and hears a voice of that which Hordes within his own mind. The ancient entity first asks the warlock, what is the worth of a soul against billions? The two proceed to have a long conversation about the options Roderick can take at this junction. The Elder God shares that the warlock is free to leave his care, but doing so would be certain doom for all those he cares about, as he will not be strong enough or have the time to develop the necessary skills to protect everyone. But that which Hordes can teach Roderick new arts and even change his body to use such arts with minimal risk. Conversely, Roderick can also stay working with Elrian, be it either under a contract or repairing the braiding. Either of these allow the half-elf to remain a warlock or to change to a different path with lower risks. To keep the braiding, Roderick will need potent fuel, however. Within the alien space, Eldemonite crystal is created and offered to the warlock. When the time comes, the half-elf can use the object to capture the energy from a worthy creature and then come back to the far bridge later to use that energy to repair the braiding. Roderick openly shows concern about the costs involved with staying with the Elder entity. The ancient existence reveals there was one additional path available to its disciple, but to do so would also require the Delmonite crystal to be charged. The final path is one of apotheosis for Roderick. Elrian reveals that the warlock has been the first creature on the third to have ever stumbled to the fourth and retained who they were before. This would mean Roderick is special, and with almost perfect certainty, Roderick can transcend to a power rivaling that of the divine, a true Eorsim. In doing this ascension, Roderick would be more powerful than even Levault, and he would also be liberated from any permanent connection to that which Hordes. This would be guaranteed victory for Heartseeker if Roderick was willing to pursue it. After learning this additional path, Roderick takes the Delmonite crystal. His patron asks one more time, what is the worth of a soul, before the half-elf suddenly finds himself back in the far bridge with the rest of the Heartseeker. The group decides to hear what had happened after they leave the cult's hideout. Along the way, they do visit a few of the rooms they missed. In one of these rooms, they find the unusual tree, which they conclude was the Cephamel, described in the diary that Doma found within the library. Heartseeker takes a few of the fruit. Doma tries one of the fruit and learns that it heals him. Then the party decides to take all the fruit that's available. The band then tracks down the corrupted elemental creature that's patrolling the halls and uses a remove curse on it to destroy the creature once and for all. After a few more minor complications, the ensemble eventually makes their way back to the surface. They realize nightfall has come, and they set up camp. Roderick shares the majority of the discussion he had with Elrin with the rest of the group, but not all of it, just the majority of the conversation. Philosophy takes place despite the protests of one Dr. Baldric. Heartseeker is concerned that which hoards is pulling a long con, but they understand it is Roderick's choice after all. The group does some planning with about some possible threats they have with Mayor Dumond, as well as the criminal organization Devilin. They all go to sleep, and in the morning, everyone is surprised to find Ekal is starting to grow orange fur. No noticeable ailments are diagnosed on top of this odd pigment, and so the party decides that there's no real threat, and they resume march towards Westwind. And that is where we are now. We are technically at camp, giving you guys the opportunity to do any slight amendments if you so will, or wish to do so. But right now, basically, you would all be kind of packing your things up, putting them back in your bag, throwing a little bit more nuts in your mouth after, kind of getting ready to hit the road, getting the bridle and the sternum available for your horses, kind of like, corralling the horse available. That's kind of what your guys doing. So before you break camp completely, before you begin to move, is there anything any of my players would like to do?
Oops.
So this is 60 minutes and nothing happens. Okay, so you guys get on your horses. And so now you do have to make it a choice, which is probably an obvious choice, but where would you like to go?
Let's go to the Margelzem, guys. There's cool things over there. No, we are going to go to Westwind.
Very well. Input
that I
acknowledged.
Say.
All right, so you guys start making your way back towards the road, and maybe we already did that. Well, either way, you start making your way back towards the Alabaster Highway, right? And it will take you half an hour or so to traverse through the open wilderness that you kind of had to chase after Krista initially. And you eventually will see the Alabaster Highway. Now, to remind you about this slightly later in the day, you guys slept in a little bit because you came out so late out of the facility the day before. So it's like 9, 10 in the morning. And there is a level of fog present currently on the outer coast here near Westwind, which was, again, not unusual. I remember discussing this a little bit in the previous episode, where occasionally a wind pattern from the northwest will slice its way through and bend and convert, or rather clash with the normal east to west wind that comes from the Lorne Mountain Range. But at this moment, obviously, there is a current of air blowing northwest down to southeast, and so that it's brought in a bunch of moisture and a cold atmosphere, which has created the fog. It's not cutting your visibility too harshly. You guys can see out maybe 300 feet, right? Like, you can see things 300 feet away, but the further you or closer you are to that 300-foot range, if not beyond that, the more and more cloud or mist is interacting, and which makes it harder for you to get the full details of things. So pretty much for anyone of normal perception, 300 foot is basically the cutoff where it's just like they become silhouettes, right? There might be something there might not be something there, right? And it's probably, it is colder than it was the day before. So it's probably for low 40s, perhaps, right? Even though you're late in the day, close to 10 o'clock, right? But the Alabaster Highway, being Hathasa, catches the light that does filter through the clouds nonetheless, and you can see the brilliant white road clearly from a distance, and you triangulate your way back to the road. Your horses get back on side the road, and then you have to kind of make the decision of which direction is which, kind of orientate yourself, and you go, if we head this way, which would be basically south, we will get to Westwind. And so, with that, you turn your horses southward and start trotting along. And there's the audible clicks of horse hooves striking against stone a stone pavement, basically. There is the shuffle of chainmail and leather creaking, bags bouncing up and down, right? Random nicks and bobs and upon your persons that makes noise when it's jostled and moved. There probably is mild to light conversation, nothing that I would say that would be need to waste time on, unless you guys want to turn into a specific questionnaire. So of course you can always interrupt me if you wanted to do something like that. But yeah, overall, perhaps there's a little bit of concern with two unusual interactions that have occurred this morning. One that wasn't so obvious to most of you. It was brought up, a call noticed it, but there's two. One is that a call has got orange fur, and it's nowhere near the illustration of a Caulfield here. There's not that much orange. I would say maybe 20% of his previous white pristine fur is now got orange little fuzz patches here and there, right? So you can definitely see there is orange coming in, but it's not like he's a giant Garfield cat. He's not. Not yet. Maybe soon, but not yet. The other interaction that was unusual this morning, which would become more and more evident as the day comes on, is that one warlock in your guys' party is he's seeming apathetic or lethargic. It's just he's never got enough sleep, which, of course, why wouldn't he? Might have had nightmares all night, right? I would imagine by default here, since Roderick Petite as Roderick didn't nominate to do anything special, that he's just kind of been keeping to himself and almost falling asleep on his horse, right? He's looking really ragged, right? And not really participating in the jibber jabber that the rest of you are chiming in about. But it is noticeable as the day goes on, you guys are recognizing that Roderick himself is also seemingly just a little drained. So, moving south along the Alabaster Highway, which moves south and then eventually will start cutting a little bit more southwest before it then does a bend and then eventually gets to Westwind, as the map should indicate here. Yep, south to then get to southwest of Westwind. There's not a large amount of exciting things of interest here. Your visibility is slightly shorter than it would normally be. It's not a beautiful warm day as it was in the last few days beforehand. There is a presence of nature and life. There's not there's an eerie silence that's permeating this area. You do hear birds. You do hear frogs and crickets and other insects that are flying around. You'll see bees and flies darting through the high grass nearby. There'll be rabbits occasionally on the road. And as you've always had throughout the majority of the journey, there are natural streams and creeks that you guys will occasionally brush by. Sometimes they get close to the road. Sometimes they go under the road. The road has small little bridges that go over parts of it. But usually it's kind of the road's been built in a way to kind of avoid making bridges when possible. And so you'll see animals perhaps a couple of deer at one point. There was a very unusual interaction on your journey here where you guys have to actually stop for a brief period of time on the road, as there is a very fat, squat animal that is currently on the road, and it's just kind of waddling its way forward. This thing's maybe, a foot from its bottom of its palms to the top of its back. It's a quadruped. It's got a very fat, flat leather tail. It is like a rodent, a giant, aquatic rodent. It doesn't take too long before you guys recognize that it's a beaver, a relatively large beaver that has a huge branch that's just dragging along the highway. And it doesn't seem like it's bothered by your guys' immediate presence. Normally most animals scatter and flee as they come by you guys. But this one just seems to just keep moving in the same direction along the road, kind of slowing you guys down. And unfortunately, it's right in the middle, right? So it's do we just crush this thing if we want to run through it, right? You kind of slow your pace for a brief period of time before eventually the beaver finds its own path. Eventually it gets off the highway, seemingly going down towards this kind of creek bed and bringing this giant branch it felled earlier with it across the road, right? And then your pace resumes. You continue going south. You know that within the end of this day, you will be at Westwind, right? Roderick for sure recognizes, unless there's some disaster or catastrophe that occurs, you guys will make it today, for sure. In a couple of hours, probably in the ballpark of 5 to 6 hours of travel, right? It's kind of what you would estimate, which is the majority of your traveling day, but that's what it probably would take. And so time does tick by. Minutes turn to dozens of minutes, and dozens of minutes turn to hours. Small breaks are had at points for you guys to like stretch, move, eat a little bit, refill your canteens, things like that.
I'm sure Cal would take these breaks or any moment he can to either fish if there was an available lake or a body of water, or go hunting and bring a rabbit or two back to camp.
So the moments are presentable, but Ikal is savvy enough to know that none of the breaks you guys are taking are ones that are designed for a proper hunt. He needs to, or fishing. Like, he could get a bite within a couple minutes, and that's kind of what you guys do with these, like, little small breaks you're having. But that's very, very, very unlikely. It's almost like not worth the time to take the gear out to do it, basically.
All right. There were a couple of times we saw rabbits across the road, and then Ikal would go fucking tabaxi sprint after it, just pick up a rabbit. Zoom! Right there, he just goes zoom.
You're right. You could murder the landscape, but I do know that Ikal doesn't just hunt to hunt. He does do it when he has immediate need. So I want to challenge that a little bit. But you're not wrong. He would kill a couple animals. So sure, I did describe there being deer and such present. Let's just murder the landscape. Go ahead and make a survival roll.
Whoa! Hell yeah!
We're gonna anger some ancient deity.
I'm sure it's not gonna piss any. Yeah, I'm sure it's not gonna piss Marlash off. Or the druid that's with you off. I mean, just murder them to murder them.
He's not gonna ensure to. Oh no, he's not. He's gonna ensure not to hurt any one-eyed foxes he comes across. Survival, you said.
Yeah.
You find this fox in the woods. Its foot stuck in a trap. It looks at you longingly with its one eye. Do you free it?
Oh, that's a 10. He's got pretty good survival. That's a natural 2 plus 8.
Wow, that's a really bad roll. Holy moly. Sure.
It's a 10. That is an average.
Hey, that's halfway.
Yeah, but so the thing is that's average for when you're properly dedicating time to it. So just seeing a rabbit when you're on your horses, then you get off your horse to, like, the rabbit's already like, oh shoot, predator, and then like it flees, right? So that
I want to roll initiative.
So in this case, I actually can justifiably say that's not adequate enough to, in passing, catch an animal, right? I don't think I don't think it's an easy check to catch an animal while you're like trying to travel at the same time. If you were sitting down for like 30 minutes, then yes, he could have 30 minutes to hunt, and that would have definitely caught something, right? And the amount of abundant life that's present in this wilderness right here, right? But that's not what's happening. The breaks are too short to have met that. He'd have to do it on the lunch, but then again, he wouldn't eat on his lunch. So either way, he doesn't catch anything. So, but nice try. I'll give you some slight applause for that. Anywho, so you guys do watch Ikal kind of just like off his game. Whatever this orange fur seems to be. Whatever it is, his game is off, dude. He's not the same.
Shit. Must be all the orange.
Yeah. As the journey continues further, right? So we're maybe 2 hours into this day now, right? So it's basically noon. There is a person on the road ahead of you guys, and so you get good visibility of them around 250 feet away, right? So it's about a football field away, a soccer field / football field, whichever one you want to note in your head. About that distance away, you finally go, there definitely is a person on the road. And this person's kind of like pacing back and forth. They got like a giant piece of paper in front of them. They're kind of like rotating it, and you see them like looking at landmarks to the left, and they just seem really exasperated. As you near them, you can hear them muttering to themselves. It's like they're not aware of you. They're completely trapped in their own headspace. Just this like frantic behavior. You hear like what sounds like a higher toned voice of what it looks like a young teenage lad. He's got brown hair. It's in a lot of very small little curls upon him. He's a very thin frame. He's got a heavy amount of freckles on himself. And you could just catch this oh no, what do I do? Come on, did I pass it again? No. Oh man, I'm really gonna get it now. Oh, meddler, please, meddler. Is it over there? No, I don't think so.
Oh, what? Hail, weary traveler. What appears to be the problem here?
So you stopping briefly. The young human male, yes, in his teenage years, right? He's got to be mid-teens, what you expect, right? He kind of turns to, meddler's mess. You guys gave me a heart attack. And then when he did that, he dropped his map, which just kind of floats down and lands in a puddle. Oh no! And he kind of dives down and picks it up, and now it's got like water running off of it. Oh no!
He doesn't look infected.
We do have a doctor with us. He can take a look.
Oh, doctor!
I think he was saying metaphorically, not literally. Otherwise, he'd be on the ground, Thor, clutching his.
Not an official diagnosis.
Well, you are a doctor too. Are you with the Wormsworth Associates?
Oh, you just hear mumble.
There are other doctors besides Wormsworth, my boy.
I would argue even more reputable ones.
I concur with that, Romy. He kind of gives you a knowing nod.
Baldric will remember this.
But it was definitely Mutter. Then perhaps maybe you could help me. Are you? If you're not with them, maybe you know where they might be. I'm trying to find one of the camps. Today's my first day. I just got my apprenticeship, and I was heading from Westwind, and it said follow the road, the highway north, and there was supposed to be a stream, and when you pass it's at the river, at the stream. Oh, my map is now ruined, but I passed some streams back there, but then it's supposed to be like above the fork, but then at the river is where the camp's supposed to be. You wouldn't know where the camp is, right? Camp Salvation? Any of you?
No. But can I see the map?
Yeah, here. He hands you this map that's still got water, just like dripping out of it, right? So some of the ink has smudged. This was not a high quality map. It's not like a map that's been cured to prevent leakage. It's like a hand drawn on a very.
It's one of those maps you're supposed to keep in a map case, but he doesn't have a map case.
No, it's not even that quality. It's like it's paper that's been with a quick illustration of like here's a road, and you can kind of get, even with it like the ink running on it, you can get that notion. Okay, Westwind's supposed to be here. Westwind's supposed to be down here. He wasn't like completely wrong with the orientation, but obviously he was flipping it because he was getting panicky, right? But you get it back orientation. This must be Westwind, the southwest, and there's like a weird line that kind of bends up, and like, okay, that's probably the highway. And if you want to, you can make an investigation check to kind of get an idea to see if it's salvageable to figure out where he's supposed to go.
Or I could just mark a random place on his map.
100%. I'm sure you can just say it's behind him, and he'll go that way.
Would Roderick have a little more insight, considering he's from the area?
Well, the camps weren't made back when you were from here, right? So what you're doing right now is you're doing background thinking based off of what you've heard from the guards earlier, right? There's that one woman guard that kind of mentioned the 3 camps to you. So you can kind of like do some estimates potentially, and then looking at the little dots that exist, you might be able to figure out where these were in relation to like the actual road. Now don't forget, if you have exhaustion, because you had 2 levels of exhaustion in the camp, you still have 1 level of exhaustion, which means you'd have to do that roll at disadvantage.
Yeah, I know. That's why he doesn't get it. I rolled a 3 and a 1.
Okay, but even a natural 1 is a skill check.
Yeah, it's a 10.
A 10. A 10. All right. You actually are able to deduce a couple of things. There are several random blips on the map. Unfortunately, you don't know what the names of those happen to be, but you do get the rough idea of like, here's the Alabaster Highway, and based off of your guys' own travels, you can kind of go, did we pass a river or not? And with that, there is no massive river that you guys have traversed by. You've gone by like streamlets and creeks, right, and ponds and things of that nature. And clearly, there's like a very thick blue line, right? Well, I guess it's black line, but a black line that runs perpendicular. And you're certain that has to be the river, because right on that line is the dot with the circle around it, right? Like a very rapid circle that's, smudged now, but that was where his final destination is. And that is above the Y fork, which the fork, after a quick deduction from yourself, is probably the intersection that's like a day's travel backwards. If you guys remember, there was that one junction you guys went by, where the basically the Alabaster Highway heads west, and then it would start dripping south, which is where you guys are on now, is the southward tip. But you could have gone north up to Ferdin. And so above the Y, that junction, there's a river that looks like it comes southwest from Niscaria, is where you would estimate. There's a massive Lake Forest up near Niscaria, and there's probably a river that branches down and cuts across the northern expanse off of the Alabaster Highway. So he's not there yet. He needs to go all the way up to the junction and then continue up to probably get to the river, right? It's a little bit late in the day. It's unlikely that he could make it because he's going by foot today, right? So he's probably not going to make it today. He's probably going to be late, right? But I mean, he could pioneer, right? But you would estimate that it's probably about a day's travel from Westwind City to get to this Camp Salvation along the river to the north, right? So you guys are close to Westwind. He would have to continue up the Alabaster Highway, get to the actual junction where there will be Wormsworth Associates and the Nightly Orders present, and then go north of there, and he'll eventually reach the river. That's what he needs to do.
Well, young man, I'm sorry. You're in the wrong direction. You went the wrong direction.
Well, I mean,
Well, no.
So I'm supposed to go back to Westwind then? That's
keep
way
going,
Westwind,
go.
right? This is and you see it looks up
we're
to the
going
sun.
up to Westwind. So back in the direction that we came from, about a day's travel that way. When you meet up with Wormsworth Associates and Nightly Order, you'll take the junction to go northbound.
Can you point which, like on the map, what you mean by that?
Sure. Got prestidigitation and hope to clean it up a little more.
I mean, you really can't clean up. It's not.
To dry it off, I guess.
It doesn't really dry off things, unfortunately. So you can make some of the mud that's picked up kind of like that blast away because it hasn't sealed itself to the paper, sure. But it doesn't really do a lot. But it's still smudgy. But you try to explain to them, we're here. I think we're here, right? And you need to go all the way north till you get here. Oh, but I thought I passed that because there was these like rivers. No, those aren't rivers, boy. Those were streams, probably. You're here, I think, and you need to go all the way up there. And there's that kind of realization of, but that's like
The light bulb
a
moment.
whole day away. I can't.
Yeah, hopefully.
Today's supposed to be my first day. If I don't show up, they're probably gonna fire me. It was so
Nah,
hard
they need
to
everybody.
get
You'll be fine.
the apprentice. But I think so. You
It's
think?
a national crisis. They kind of need everyone they got.
Yeah, but
Exactly.
that's the reason why they took someone like me in the first place. There's a high need, and if there wasn't a high need, they wouldn't have taken someone of my caliber.
Well, if you're a day late, I've seen people hired for jobs and do worse.
Yeah, but I want to be a doctor. And this is the
Well,
best way to
no.
do it.
No need talking to us. Get going.
Right, yeah, jeez. And he grabs the paper, pulls it in, and then he kind of nods, thank you, matron's blessings, and then he begins to just run, like literally jog. But he only goes like 100 feet before he's like out of breath.
It goes back to walking.
And you guys just kind of watch a bit just for him to continue like kind of walking, right? He's got like that runner's cramp. It's not his day. With like a shrug to each other. I'm glad you're not him. You then
Isn't
resume
it a day
heading.
by horse?
What was that?
Isn't it a day by horse? He's saying that to everyone else.
And he's walking.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's not going to arrive for a long.
Your first job,
not
you
a
kind of
day
like
late,
thought,
eh?
oh, I can just walk there, and then you're like, you got your good shoes, and the shoes are like eating the back of your heel, and they're just like everything's going
Got
wrong.
blisters and stuff. He's
Yeah.
totally
What?
correct.
I didn't think it was gonna be this hard, man. I'm sweating bullets.
Show up to work absolutely soaked.
Why, Valon? Why?
Giving him his trials.
Forever. Oof.
not him giving you a trial. It's completely fabricated to your own incompetence. All right, so the guy, the apprentice, who you never got even his name, he ran up north. So continue, guys. Continuing south. And it's maybe like the next hour from now that you're starting to see the beginnings of the loose farms that are in the Westwind territory, right? So there were occasional farms spread out throughout the march from east to west here, right, across the numerous regions, some of them in Kirk and some of them in Niscaria, right? You saw a ton in Fairfield. And Westwind's got a very small, like, actual, like, region. It's for itself because of its, like, relative importance between it and the Kingdom of the Isrenai, right, on the Elder Isles. So their actual territory of, like, what geography's theirs is very, very tiny. They basically have, like, a couple miles around the bay. The Westwind Bay itself is their territory, and then it quickly becomes what either Ferdin's or Garrington's, I think it. No, Kirk. Probably per Kirk's. Anyhow, they don't have a large amount of territory, but you're seeing these farms that presumably probably are the starts of the Westwind farms. And Roderick, you would know, you've traveled up and down this path enough times that these would be the landmarks. You're like, we're basically there, right? Within an hour of travel, we'll be in Westwind. And I mean, an hour travel with your current mode of speed with the horses, right? It'd be like 2 hours by foot, but 1 hour with the horses you're using. And so maybe some of these places are places that you have memories associated with, right? Like there's the Lover's Tree. You never got lucky there, but that's where the lucky people go to, have their first smooches. And then over here, there's the watering hole where kids would run away during the hot summer if they didn't want to go into the coast itself, right? There's all these like random little Nick Curio culture spots that people can kind of do in this area. But most of the farms are spread out, right? They're not kind of congested together in little like communities. They're spread apart, and you're starting to see in that area of traversing here, you're noticing that kind of like just as you've been noticing most of your travels heading west, that there's a disconnect between what you knew this was and what it is now. It's evident the Silent Plague has tainted. Its presence is felt. You can sense it. Surely no one else in the party can because they've never really been here before, right? But you can sense the discrepancy, right? The highway is significantly less populated, right? You're effectively the only people using this highway. You haven't passed any people's band. You haven't passed any scale-scarred knights. Normally you would have like a patrol at least of people's band, right? And you've gone 3 or 4 hours now and you haven't passed by any of them. The farms themselves, many of them are boarded up. They're like when you finally if you get close enough to the actual dwelling itself, right, you'll see that there's like boards like hammered in over most of these windows and doors. They're kind of like, blocked in. As if some kind of catastrophe came, and then maybe people, just quickly hammered everything shut. Hope it would be enough to they could run away and then maybe come back later, and that would prevent thieves from digging through their belongings. So passing by numerous of these farms, most of the farms are still tallied with livestock, right? It doesn't look like the people that did flee fled with everything they had. They fled with what they could carry, but a lot of things were left behind. People's lives just plucked and moved, right, for survival. And it becomes, evident easily for you with your calculative mind to see this trend. You're guessing that at least 30%, 1/3 of the farms in the localized region have been abandoned, is what you would guess. You also happen to notice your group, not just you, but your group, especially those with a higher perception, and I'm sure when the rest of the higher perceptions notice it, they would even kind of gesture, and Domo would be able to see it too. So you all would see it eventually. There are a couple of these farms that are boarded up. Some of them have like red paint that's been splashed on the side of these like wooden planks that have been hammered in over the doors or windows, and the splash of paint is formulative into words. And you're seeing... did I actually write one in advance? I guess I didn't probably write one, an actual one. One of them would maybe say things like, "Were you invited?" with a question mark. It was like probably the first one you've seen. And it just stands out. Like, you can clearly see it from the highway. It reads, "Were you invited?" in red on this vacant house north of you guys, north of the highway itself. Moving.
What could that mean?
I have no idea. Isn't this your territory?
But the paint, were you invited?
I didn't.
Not really enough to be a warning to anything or a actual question, right? There's no context to it.
It's weird.
Definitely peculiar.
Perhaps
Looks like
we'll
it was
see more.
sloppy handwriting from what I can tell. Kind of quick is what it looks like. Very big brush. You want to go look at that building?
I mean, you think they'd say, like, stay away or go away, not were you invited?
Yeah, very good point. Very good point. Like, this is my property. This is the Johnsons.
Right.
I know I have 8 cows. If one's missing, I'll know it's you, Frank.
Sure, if you don't mind. For a slight detour.
But we weren't invited. Well,
Very good, everyone. Very good.
And maybe
what's
there's
that?
maybe
Yeah.
there's writing we can't see on the other side. We could at least go around it and see if there's a rhyme or reason.
Like,
Yeah.
Frank, were you invited?
Of course. I mean, we can scout around. So like a call like meanders with you guys as you guys have to actually get off the highway, right? There's a dirt path that moves towards this farm, right? Clearly it's like man-made by like the family that used to live here, right? So you kind of wind off the hill and it's like 100 feet away before you kind of like break through the perimeter of the fence. And you're like now into this like open like grassland, and there's like crops to one side and they look like they haven't been taken care of for a couple months. There's, some animals in one area that are just like not looking too good. They look like they've been emaciated. Like there's pigs that are like very, very thin. They're probably not going to last much longer. They were left in their kind of like kennel-ish area, right? There are some like, big like bovines grazing and they seem relatively okay. There's some sheep like meandering too, right? But most of this farm does not look like it doesn't look like it's going to last without someone coming back to help it, right? So as you kind of like move down the path, you eventually get up towards close to the porch region, and there's like maybe a 10-foot long porch. It's maybe 15-foot wide. There's several wooden poles that keep like an overhang roof, kind of preventing it from like direct rain. You could like probably sit here and like maybe old Ma would be crocheting while the kids would be out in the field, right? Like you could see good visibility of the agriculture out of the farm from the front porch. And then like across the windows there are what appear to be random like plank boards, right? They're not expertly like crafted, right? But there's like planks that have been hammered over the majority of the windows, and then the door itself has one too, and that door has the biggest plank, and that has the text "Were you invited?" right, in red paint. A call chimes out that I'll have to go take a quick look around, and then he kind of dismounts off the horse, and then he begins to prowl off to the side. Feel free to make him do a stealth check for me, Thoric.
Fuck yeah.
All right, maybe we should have someone else roll other than Potato, who consistently rolls bad.
You can always let me roll.
As he rolled, he got a net one.
Doma, you're banned from rolling.
What do you mean?
I don't remember the last
rolled
time I
just
rolled
as
above a
crappy.
10.
That's very true.
What did you roll? What did you roll?
I rolled a 1.
Oh,
See?
dear sweet.
I could have rolled a 2 at least.
What's he got? He's got like a +8 probably in stealth, right? So like a 9.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
9 I think.
Maybe
Not
it's
even halfway. Oh no, halfway.
so,
Wait, did you make the die bigger? Cute.
Yeah, you know what? Let's fix that.
You can make him really tiny too. I got a really tiny one in my board space.
Yeah, I don't know why you did that, but whatever. Okay, I let
You
you guys.
shrunk it.
Let you guys do what you want. All right,
It's so
as long as
small.
that becomes like a massive eyesore. Anywho, so Call slinks off, and maybe it's just the orange Fuhrer, but you guys can clearly see him now. It's not. It's just like he doesn't look like he's doing what he normally does, and you're just kind of like.
At this point, he might as well be wearing a high-vis vest.
Eldrick, I thought you said he was okay.
I want to follow him. I'm gonna dismount from the horse by leaping off of it like a front flip, but I'm not actually front flip. I'm using my wings. I'm cheating. And then
You trail
That
after
was
Call.
cool.
Easily, yeah, sure. And
then I will
so
stealth after
acrobatic.
him, which I have disadvantage on because I.
one level
suck.
exhaustion, sure.
They say orange is like the most visible color.
With disadvantage at 20 for
Yeah.
my stealth.
Yeah, you're
Wow.
definitely.
Yeah.
Now, a Call I think's past the perception. He actually would notice you're coming, so he kind of turns and like as you get within 60 feet, he turns his ear like over here and he gets eye contact of you, and then he kind of like gestures for you to come down to his level. Because he thinks what he's doing is the right way to stealth. So you find a spot, being the shorter creature, kind of like in the grass, and from everyone else's perspective, you're gone, right? But a Call knows, like he's kind of like moves with you along the pattern here. So the two of you scout around the basically go the opposite side of that house, right? And along the way, you're like looking for any other weird abnormalities. And so make a perception check for me. I'll have you do the roll because you're the player, so it's better for you to do the roll.
Disadvantage.
He'll give you. Go ahead and have advantage. I mean, go ahead and gain advantage.
So go ahead and have base roll.
Yeah, flat it out because a Call will give you. A Call will help you. In this case.
Notice how the Don't Trust the Dungeon Master DM gives the perception roll to the person
It's not
with more
terrible because I'm a wisdom class, right? It could be better. That's going to be a 14.
14. Okay. So nothing on the other side of the building has anything of that nature. There's no other text. There's no other red paint. There doesn't seem to be anything else that seems to kind of paint a different picture for you, and I meant that figuratively. There doesn't seem to be anything that seems to expound upon the evidence you have thus far. There are boards along the back porch entrance. There are boards along all the windows on the side of the building too, right? And then just to kind of the same level of I don't want to say decay, but I don't want to say disrepair. It's only been probably a couple of months, but non-use, right? They're just that same level of non-use seems to be evident in the current environment. With that, you guys then complete the full circle around to get back to your party, who's at the front, probably still on their horses, just kind of waiting. And then a Call and Lumi probably regroup with you all. Lumi coming out of nowhere for most people, but a Call just bouncing up and down, eventually gets back to the group. Well, did you see anything, Lumi? I didn't really see anything of interest along the way.
No, there was nothing that led to anything what that could mean. Are you invited?
It didn't look like any of the doors or windows were broken in. It looks like the place is still secure. Maybe if we went to the porch itself and poked around, maybe we could get more, but then obviously we would have to go onto the porch.
Perhaps that's a code phrase, that a certain group could recognize to let them know that this is where they should be.
Like a staple?
Could be.
I guess Roger would dismount and.
Wait, are we gonna?
Go ahead.
Are we gonna explore this, or are we gonna get going? What's the plan?
Maybe a little. I'm just a little curious.
Let's
And,
put a
you'll get
deadline
close-
on this. How many minutes max? No more than half an hour here?
Oh, I was gonna say about 15, 20 minutes.
And still suffices then.
Yeah, so he will come up, get a little closer to the porch, and he'll cast Detect Magic.
Sure. Detect magic. Oh, there's Acme here!
That's everywhere!
How? But no.
It's under the ground!
Alright, so yeah, you cast Detect Magic, and no magical peens. Nothing seems to alert you that there is magic present, right? You do make your way onto the porch itself, and you can see there are drops of paint that have splattered on the ground. Basically, like, it looks like whoever was writing this did it in a pretty heavy rush, right? Did anyone else want to go up with Roderick, the warlock, or did they were just going to let him go on his own?
Go up with him.
All right, Domo goes
Roderick
up.
is the warlock. I mean, I guess Thorax
The
the
squishy
fighter
man?
will go
Yeah.
along.
Doma the paladin.
Lumi the artificer will also join.
Oh, hell yeah. You've been building
alright, so
bombs when I haven't been looking?
Maybe half the party moved up. The other half kind of keeps a lookout. Okay, so I will allow the party to do an investigation check to see if there's some other clues they can get here. But there be multiple people present. There could be an advantage given, like aid could be given, or it could be individual rolls. I don't care.
It's the Giga Roll Thorax that's gonna blow you all away with his investigation.
Yeah.
Ah, yes.
My god, mate. What are your rolls today?
Yeah.
Today? You mean for the past forever?
Yeah, it hasn't been above 10 today.
Literally
It's-
yesterday was Thorak's best day ever. He got to do all the things he never got to do.
Oh, true.
He was so
Oh, wait,
happy.
is there a chimney?
He was so giddy. He even landed a chromatic orb. So I don't think Thorak thinks that right now. I think that he's basically realized my karma's been spent. And
There's a chimney.
Never
in
gonna
this-
happen
in this
again.
home here.
Way.
I have to recharge for 3 days.
all right, so
Unfortunately for me, it's
Time
like
to
Yeah,
do
chimney.
some good deeds.
Chimney.
okay, so yeah, what did we get on the
Wait,
7 for Thorax.
okay, not very good.
am I rolling with advantage? I mean, disadvantage here?
Doma wants to give you help, sure.
Sure.
Okay, hold on. I mean,
Then it's just a
Oh,
flat
yeah,
Take a
roll.
nice
then.
look
I think a nice
around.
here. Start off with there. We go. This one. Flat roll for once. One more roll. Let's see what we get.
Woo!
22.
All right, 22.
As long as it's above 10.
It doesn't seem too complicated to you to really pick up any extra, like the additional details that would be present. There isn't a large amount of them. There is what you can tell is that it looks like someone came from off the porch and came running up, and they must have had like a tank canister of paint, the red paint that was used, and it looks like maybe they had snapped the lid off like as they were coming up to the building in a relatively large gap in their gate in their step, right? Because it looked like they were trying to go quickly here, and that as they did that, that led to some spillage of paint a little bit down off the porch in this grass next to the pathway, right? So it looks like they came off the from like outside the farm onto the farm through the grass, not on the main path, and then here they darted forward, broke the canister open, and then spilled a little bit along the way, got on top of the porch, and then just quickly dunk, wipe. You can also kind of guess based off of like the way that the like presentation here, the sloppiness involved, doesn't look like they had good visibility. You imagine this is probably done at night. That just like the print has a little bit of like misalignment with the characters. So when the people did this, they were doing this in low light and low light, if no light, and the individuals involved probably didn't have the ability to see in the dark, right? Probably not a torch, just because of like how sloppy the text happens to be, right? So you kind of
You said this was a farm, right? There's like no other homes or buildings nearby, right?
yeah. This
Yeah, yeah,
is
yeah,
like,
it should be like a barn, right?
This is the homestead of a farm. Let me
Gotcha.
represent. So this is the homestead of the farm. There is like a barn off to the side, and there was like a couple of animals that are basically starving to death, right, along the facility. But you're at the homestead itself, which has been boarded up, and the evidence seems to you to conclude the following: this is not a person that is meant to be a resident here, right? Why would they have approached it in this specific pattern, right? They came from an angle that wasn't towards like a barn where you would stock paint, right? There doesn't appear to be like a basement or something, right? That be like somewhere else where this would explain why the person wasn't on the main path. So this is probably a foreign element that came here to mark this for their own agenda. Unfortunately, you can't really deduce what that agenda means. It could be coded speech, like your party says, right? It could be implying maybe like this is a mark, right? Like this place is open to be hit later, right? But it could also be coded speech for something else, right? It could be an advertisement for other opportunities as well. But based off of the speed and the angle of approach, you imagine that these people or person were moving quickly, and that gives you the conclusion that we're not the native residents of this home.
That's about to take it. Oh boy. Oh boy.
And then with the 22, there doesn't appear to be any breaking. Like none of the boards have been broken. No one tried to break in. The paint appears to have been dried for a long time, at least a couple weeks is what you would estimate. So,
and does it like anybody's been there since, for the most part?
Yeah, that's what you would get from, at least from the front porch, right? There doesn't appear to be any evidence of like tomfoolery to actually gain into the establishment, which kind of, if it is like a mark of like, hey, we want to strike this house because there's probably some goods inside of it and no one's here, right? Like if it's like that kind of mark on it, either they have many to hit, which is definitely feasible right now, or that wasn't the mentioned agenda at hand.
Are there, I guess, one more question, chimneys?
Chimneys?
Yes, is there a chimney?
There is a chimney. It's not like a brick one. It's kind of like a pipe that comes out of the roof, which you could climb on the roof. I mean, you guys could easily break your way through this, right? You guys are not weak if you wanted to bust your way into here. Oh, but I guess you're probably thinking, could you send someone down? Is what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah, she probably could. She probably could do that. I mean, she's
be someone really small.
Dimensionally.
Our most useful scout.
Yes, Krista, would it be possible? Can you go into the pipe up there and see if if there's anything or anybody inside?
Yeah, absolutely. If you would give me just a moment.
Foop. And she zips off. She's invisible, as she normally natively is, but you can feel and like the wind kind of whip by you as she leaves your immediate vicinity to move up there. And while that's happening, did you want to like look through her eyes while this is happening, or did you just...
I don't have that feature anymore.
You don't have that
No,
level 3?
Yeah, I don't have that invocation anymore. No.
No. It's so your level 3 when you pick your Pact of Tome, Blade, or Chain, right? Is it Chain? Are you still Pact of Chain?
Yeah.
Then you would. That's default with the thing. The invocation lets you look through their eyes anywhere they are on the same plane as you. It also lets you speak through them. Normally you can't do that, but you can look through her eyes, right? And communicate with her as long as she's still within 100 feet of you. It functions just like the normal Find Familiar spell in this case.
Mm.
So
Okay.
you could, since you are still Chain, you didn't change that. You could.
Okay, that's what that was specific to that because the way it was worded.
Yeah, no, I think that if I recall, the invocation does is it just makes it stronger. There's a larger distance, like a mile, if I recall. I haven't looked at it. I don't really find it personally that very powerful of an invocation, so I always skip it. But it also lets you talk through your familiar, right? So you could send your familiar like across the world, and then you could communicate with like some like espionage, like we have the gem, right? Like you wouldn't normally be able to do this, or help, I've been in prison, right? Like you could speak to your familiar. That's like the main perk. You normally couldn't do that messenger stuff with. You'd have to like, I hope you can do it, Krista, right? So. So did you want to, or did you want to like?
Absolutely, absolutely. This would change things a lot sooner. That's right. To think about it, but yes.
Okay. Yes.
Look through her eye. Yes, we'll look through her
Okay.
eye.
Sure. So through a creature you can't see its hands, you just see like this little moving. Right. You're moving forward like a drone. So you don't see your body, but like a drone moving forward. It flies up to the top of the roof. It gets to the pipe. And there is like a little tin like lip on top of it to try to prevent like random debris falling into the chimney. Krista kind of like looks at that like plate, and it kind of makes it a little awkward for her. So then you kind of like you can hear her because you're in her mind. Right? You can't hear your normal self, but you can hear her struggling. And the camera just like staring down like a black pipe down into like an area of darkness below. It's not moving. It's like that for like maybe 30 seconds before there's suddenly a boom, and then the camera falls down the pipe and then eventually lands into the homestead, right? And then like from her perspective, it looks like she's a little wobbly for a moment. You even though you can't see it, you imagine she's probably like clutching her head a little bit before then she kind of like stands up. She looks down. You hear like some patting, like someone's wiping some like dust off themselves, and then with slow trepidatious steps she walks, not flies, walks into the living arrangement, and she then begins to look around. There doesn't seem to be any dead bodies. There doesn't seem to be any mischief from your glance here. There doesn't seem to be anything of immediate, like that kind of level of concern, right? It doesn't look like someone has broken into this place and looted it. You do see that in the kitchen region, it does look like a lot of the cupboards over there have been opened and left open, so that like maybe that was looted. But you also see that it looks like things were taken from there, but you don't imagine they were high quality. Your brain just by default imagines that was probably the residents when they left. They just quickly grabbed their own things and left. There isn't like stuff broken or thrown on the ground. Things were still handled with care, and that's the main factor which makes you believe that no miscreants have come inside the facility and stolen things. That it was the owners departing in haste, probably because the silent plague was starting to kill people, right? This is only a one-story building. There are several rooms. She kind of floaters around to other rooms, right? And if you want to have her do an investigation check, right, she would do her own. I don't know exactly what her stats are. I guess I could find out here. Let's see. She's technically owned by me, I guess. So
Can you look through her eyes and do an investigation check with your stat?
He could communicate to her and try to have her do it for him, yes. She's within 100 feet of him, so you could technically kind of do that more. She still has to, like, interpret your things and proceed that way.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, outside, so, like, does he do
I'm
this
just thinking your
often?
stats are way better.
Check around!
Would he be able to talk to us while he's doing this? Like, how often does he do this?
I've never seen him do this ever. I can't recall him doing it.
Maybe it's a new power he got from his...
I've seen him do it
Sprite's a
before.
+2 intelligence, not the worst.
Sitting down and meditating? Almost seen him do that before.
So she's like, floating around and interacting with something. A lot of things are probably too heavy for her to interact with, right? She flutters to different rooms. The people lived here a very meager lifestyle. There's not a large amount of like fancy things in here, right? And the overall gist doesn't seem to be anything that stands dramatically out for her. After maybe 5 minutes of like kind of in the interior, she then kind of heads back towards the chimney. Unless you want to like audioly tell her to do something different. It looks like she's come to her conclusion and she's heading out now.
No, she can come out. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. What was that?
No, she's fine coming out.
Okay, yeah. So then she begins to climb and like try to get out of the chimney, and then like as she gets to the very top of it, you hear her go, "Oh gosh, dang it!" And then she starts trying to like squeeze through the top part of it again. This time her head's outside and she's staring at the roof, and once again she seems to be stuck a bit. And maybe 20 seconds later, she gets free, and then she flies down to you, and then she like you see her from your perspective, like this drone come like land like right on your shoulder and just like stare up at you, and then you can see your cheek being pushed in like she's poking you, but you can't. Oh no, you actually can feel it. You can still feel while you're doing this. You just can't see it or hear it from your perspective, right? You see her like she's trying to poke your face right now.
Yeah, let's switch it back. That's probably really jarring. Looking at yourself from the third person. Was it third person at that point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
See
Hello?
anything? Hey, thank you. I'm okay.
So I looked inside and doesn't seem like anything bad happened. There's no dead people. There's no one left behind. Looks like food got taken. It looks like they took some of their cooking cutlery. Just looked like from my guess, it's just they ran, right? The people that lived there ran. I don't know if that's helpful or not.
Give me 1 second. I'll call. Some kind of urgent. 1 second.
Roderick has an important call, she yells out to the entire party.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Maybe
Is the good
Alrian's
thing
talking
ascending?
to him. Maybe? Yes, that thing.
Maybe she's talking to Elrian.
Well,
Just
maybe.
covered in soot.
But anyways, the rest of you guys can continue if you want to do
Pretty sure
anything.
Krista would hear that conversation.
Maybe, maybe not. You're free to make
Pretty sure
whatever
Krista would know
speculation.
how it's happening.
That could be equally parts true and equally parts false. I'll say that. She might have that means. She also might not.
Maybe she
This
doesn't care
whole place
someday.
looks abandoned.
You know, like
Why are familiars in your world always evil?
What are you talking about?
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, I also gave him the option. Did you want to have like a more like less personalized familiar, or did you want a personalized familiar? And he said, "I want a personalized familiar, please." And I'm like, "Okay."
Who wouldn't?
So
who wouldn't want that?
he
want one that's
he
custom.
picked this.
A little custom.
I chose it, and I told him you were even in the, in this session that like it was kind of like becoming more firm. Like I asked him. It was like the very first session we played because he wanted to like have it go scout out and like because you guys were so miscreants back then.
Oh yeah, we were. We shoved people in a
man.
bag. We broke into buildings.
Yeah, he had Krista sneak into a building back then for him. So
We cast feign undead on people and had them freaking
rough time.
Wait, did
dissected
Evelyn-
live on the table.
Was Evelyn the catalyst if you guys like be going on the straight and narrow?
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. Like at that point, they got a quest that
We
actually
lost a lot of
mattered.
our miscreant members,
They could-
and then the good members joined.
Well, okay, hold on. You're definitely one of the miscreant members.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You stopped fighting Rakan to pick up loot. Shut up.
Do it again.
There's so much evidence.
Dying. I'm dying, and he's like, I'm gonna loot this.
Yeah,
spot
literally, we
right
got
now."
like Oric, like, "Come on, Evelyn!" He's like pouring potions into her. Stay in there. And then Dom was like, "Ooh, I'll take this."
I don't regret it. I still got those feathers.
And what have they done you? What have they done you?
Yeah, they're going in with exactly everything else I collect.
I do recall one thing. I do recall that.
Do you not realize that Domo is a kleptomaniac?
One of the scales you got from Rakan was used by Oric to make a crappy tonic, toxic potion.
Crappy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It was his beta run of it. If he kept experimenting, he would have made a much stronger version. At max capacity, it would have became the equivalent of a blight bomb, right? Which for your guys' level back then was basically the equivalent of a blight.
A blight.
Yeah, like a blight, but it was an AoE blight, right? But his first attempt was a poor roll, so it was a very weak one in the very first. But his second attempt would have been even better. So it later would have became an 8d8 necrotic attack. Maybe not a giant necrotic explosion, but it would have been a necrotic explosion. All right, hi Kyle. How's it going? Is Roderick back?
So if all the farms are dying, does that mean we're gonna have mass food shortages everywhere?
Yeah.
Wait, you guys aren't? Are you guys not playing yet, or?
We're playing.
No, no,
We were waiting for you the whole time, dude.
No, we're playing.
No. Exactly.
Sorry.
Just kidding.
Currently,
Let's
Petite
catch Baldric.
Petite took a phone call, so we're stopping mid part for him to take the phone call because he kind of just got privy to
Yeah.
information. But I mean, yeah, someone could catch him up. Who wants to catch him up?
Not it.
Wow.
We left camp. I had no luck getting us anything for breakfast.
We found a little man in the woods.
We found a guy on the road who was lost, and Roderick helped him on his way. And then we found a barn that said, "Are you invited?" on the side of it, and we're investigating it. That's where we're
I
at.
feel like they're spraying this on a lot of farms.
Oh, and yeah, whoever did it came from off the road. Like they had a bucket in the night, and they painted it in the middle of the night, in the dark.
No one's here.
All right,
It's like people ran away.
well, let's not just sit here with Petite. Well, so Petite tells you everything that Krista has basically seen. He advises you also. Let's just do a blah, and that's what she's seen.
Yeah.
Oh, you're back?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if I only waited another
Good thing we
10
just blocked
seconds,
that.
if I only waited another 10 seconds, I could have let him do it. All right, so Roderick, take it away. The party just got informed by you from about everything that basically Krista saw.
I think that's enough that we have here, and we may be seeing a little more of this as you go forward. So,
They can't keep
Maybe.
shutting down every farm.
I mean,
Sick or not, food shortages are a bigger problem in the long run.
yeah, but I'm sure they're not hoping this lasts too long.
I guess
What
that
is-
makes sense.
There's one thing that
We just solved
immediately, one thing that jumps out for sure for our more political savvy. So I think Evelyn just by default would know this, and then Roderick probably would be kind of familiar with it, just like from a logistics standpoint because he's from this area. Windheim. So there are loose farms usually in like near every kind of like big city, right? But there are certain regions of the kingdom that are significantly more breadbaskety, right? To the far east, the Covey Iran is a huge breadbasket that fuels the actual Windheim proper, right? But over here in the western states, your main agriculture comes from basically Fairfield and Kirk. Kirk are the main one. Westwind doesn't have a large amount of geography available to make farms, so they actually couldn't sustain themselves on their own. They need help from the other states to sustain the population they have. They're the third most populated city in the. They have the third most populated city, probably the third most populated region in Windheim, right? They do not have so knowing that they could offer to you that even if every farm closed, it wouldn't have that much of an impact immediately on Westwind. They would need help from elsewhere anyways, by default.
I see, so they ship their food in.
Yeah.
Well, at least they won't starve.
Okay,
They have the money to keep buying.
are we going to continue heading west then?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Alrighty then. And Akala gets back on the horse, his beautiful orange hair flowing in the wind.
All of it?
All of it?
All of it?
No,
All of it's orange now?
No, he's mostly white. The parts that are orange are beautifully flowing in the wind.
Oh,
Only the orange ones?
has that spread?
No, it
How
looks
does
like
that look?
it looks like anywhere from 10 to 20% of the fur on his body has become orange hued, right?
Oh, 10 to 20%. That's like a...
And wait, are those
That's like-
hairs then longer?
That's a rough
And is it
estimate.
longer?
A rough estimate, 10 to 20% of the fur. So not every patch of fur has become white. And what was your question, Al?
Well, like, is the hair does it look different? Like, is it longer, shorter? Like, is there a difference in the
Longer?
fur type?
Interesting.
it
Reaction.
mange?
Go ahead and do you want to get into his personal space and kind of just give a little?
Yeah, I'm curious.
All right. Go ahead.
Yes, Evelyn, I will definitely
Like a
allow
monkey on the back of the horse picking through his fur.
And do a. I guess it's investigation. I wanted to do a nature check, but let's do investigation.
Okay. $15.
15. Okay. So there is some differences to the hair present here. So the parts, the white hair that Vakals that is normally white is much more soft and smooth. This hair seemingly is more coarse. A little like, in fact, you probably touch it. It's a little bit more like, how should I phrase this? Firm. In fact, you might actually like prick yourself on one of the hair strands. 15's high enough to recognize that whatever's happening here, it's like the hair's transfiguring, right? Like it's almost like transmutation magic, right? It's like it's becoming something different, is what you're seeing here. A more durable, more durable hide is what it would be becoming. That seems to have an orange pigment to it.
Turning into a tank. Developing
He's
armor.
switching classes.
It could just be simple. His body's adjusting to its new environment. Could be
It's
something simple like
unbleached.
that.
I would say I don't feel any different. I was surprised when you guys even mentioned that things have changed.
Does it feel itchy or anything like that?
No, I don't know no itches. I guess it does feel different to run my fingers across it. Normally I don't do that, but
Not as soft.
And you've never seen a cat turn orange before in your
I've
hometown.
never seen anyone have anything like this.
Perhaps
But I
it's
would
a bad reaction to the ritual. We don't know if his people ever did rituals like that.
I mean, there could be a lot of things. My people haven't been on the surface, from those of us that have been under the mountain, right? For thousands of years. Also, I don't have a long tenure with my people in the first place. Being a leaf that I am from my homeland, I am quick to exodus and to start exploring the world.
I'm more concerned if you didn't feel right, like, if you were sick or something, but
Oh, do we think that I might have the plague?
I don't know that it would
Thinking
present
mange.
this way, would it?
I don't know.
Well-
What does the plague do again? Maybe it
Thought it was
functions
more
differently
like-
for Tabaxi than it does for anyone
Possible.
else.
Oh,
But I mean, I think the only thing we can really do is just keep an eye on it, right? Unless we want to start just randomly trying random tonics, I guess. And he kind of looks wistfully towards Baldric to see if Baldric has any possible lead. There was kind of like, or that like realization, like Baldric didn't offer anything initially, so that's definitely hopeful thinking.
Search me. I don't really have any ideas. But if I examine you,
Now then, I guess the only thing we can do is wait. And hope for the best then. If I start feeling ill, I will let someone know immediately. I have a pretty good, how should you say, feeling of my own body. So nothing seems totally abnormal. There, those of you that are more insightful, he does seem nervous about it. You can tell that he is putting on a little bit of a brave face. He is actually more concerned about this than he's trying to let on. I think it calls one of his stats is, I think charisma is negative, I think. So I think maybe not, I forget. So
We
That's
shouldn't
why
get too
he's
far ahead of
going
ourselves. I
orange.
think we should just wait and see what happens.
yeah.
His
Not-
charisma
not
is
worry
a plus
about it.
1.
oh, plus one? Dang. All right. Well, it's. I mean, Lumi would recognize then. Lumi has enough passive insight to recognize that a call is not is concerned about it, right? Well then, let's get going. And so onto your horses you guys do as you then have them kind of clop their way down the dirt path and get back on the highway. And then continue heading south. And there's more farms. And some of the farms have people on them, but very few of them, right? Roderick, your initial estimate was like, gosh, at least 30%. And now you're thinking half, right? It didn't take very long for you to your numbers to just super scale differently. That half the farms might have people still on them right now, right? Every single farm basically has no one like out and about basically tilling it. It's like everyone that anytime you do see people, they're like kind of like on the porch. They all have like handkerchiefs or stuff kind of covering their faces. There's apparently a level of concern and effectively mistrust. Like their eyes lock onto your group and they seem like guarded. They don't it's like they don't want you coming near them. There's no like, hey, come on down, right? There's no friendliness. Everyone seems like very opposed to and suspicious of those around them, right? And so all the people you do pass by that are on their farms, right? They're kind of like staring out windows or staring from the porch, and they're keeping themselves very well distant from the rest of you all, giving that vibe of like, don't mess with me right now, right?
Well, I'm guessing you said there's not a lot of people on the roads, so we probably stick out.
Yeah.
Like sore thumbs right now.
For numerous reasons.
Yeah. None of which would include the orange cat.
Yeah, the orange cat.
Yeah.
The devil man.
Definitely not.
The orc, the half orc. I mean, no, not all half orcs are bad, but that
trusted.
is some people might be racist against them because of the recent war. The very short humanoid's not too problematic, but we know he's a fae. The old man.
Don't trust the fae.
And then the other weird thing is that there's this very beautiful high elf traveling with this really weird vagabond. It's just weird, dude. This eclectic group is definitely not what you would expect on the standard adventure party.
Fully armored.
My crossbow.
And Roderick was going to change his appearance, I think. So
he hasn't done that yet though. So he's out in the outskirts.
I was just about to get to that. There for a picture.
Are you still wearing your rag clothing, or did you put back onto your fancy suit that was given to you by Chauncey?
Rag clothing.
Yeah, I put the rag. The rag, and using air quotes rag ones comparatively to that.
The more comfortable. You gotta break in your suit, dude. Eventually, it'll be comfortable. Okay,
walking or riding a horse.
Yes, for many days.
So moving forward, in between these the homesteads, you have a moment to throw on Mask of Many Faces. What did you want to do?
Alrighty. So let's see. What was last time? He had his hair cut to about neck length and such. So what he'll do, he would not to make it too crazy. He would kind of like I guess sharpen his facial features a little bit. Change his eye color if he can to like a blue. Make his facial hair. And all his hair crimson red.
So this is Mask of Many Faces. This is like it's a disguise self spell. You could be a completely different race, right? But you can also keep yourself close to what you were before. Sounds like currently you're just making yourself what you are, just with red hair and a little bit more
different color eyes,
and changing the face a little bit. That's all we need. Not
so you basically want to keep the same height, build, half elf that you are, but you kind of just want a little bit more discrepancy but not too different. All right.
Not trying to be like, oh, what like even more with this group that's ragtag a little bit. Yep. Sure.
The ginger Irishman.
Goliath.
I don't know how Goliath. They wave through like
a really large Goliath just riding in on a horse.
All right, so got it. You're a ginger half elf now.
Yes.
Okay, so there's a sudden change. that if anyone that was more prominently paying attention to you. Eventually, everyone then would maybe go, Roderick, you
3
look
hours
different."
later.
And they call it like, Roderick, your hair, it's turning orange like mine.
Is it?
Yes?
Good.
Actually, Roderick, your entire features are... Roderick, are you okay?
Yeah, it's intentional.
Ah. I wish mine was intentional. Alright, moving forward. More farms. Stays about the same 50%, right, of vacancy and some people present. And you guys see a couple more homes that have red paint on them. This one mentions the masquerade invites all.
On their barn house, whatever.
Another what appears to be abandoned home. Yeah.
Masquerade invites all.
Mm-hmm.
Is there writing on it?
That's the writing that you read from the road.
Oh.
And evidently so. There's a couple more like this with similar phrasing. Very commonly, the word invite, that verb, is used, right? And then one of these nouns that seems to be used in higher frequency, masquerade. It seems to kind of like there's some kind of event, a dance, a ball, something like that is kind of what's depicted commonly. You might run into about a dozen of these along the road here over your travels over like the next hour. So it's not an uncommon occurrence. But it's not every abandoned home, right? It's one out of every like 3 abandoned homes or one out of every 4 abandoned homes has that on it. But something that's easy to curtail actually is that every one of these signs that you guys have run into that has this like text on it is actually always visible from the highway, as if its intent was that while you're on the highway you could see this, and so you feel like it's more of a billboard to alert people on the road. It could still be nefarious and non-nefarious, but that's it's clear all of you are intelligent enough to recognize that they're painted towards the road, right? Ahead of you,
Free advertisement, basically.
the road begins to ascend up a bit in elevation.
Free real estate.
And Roderick recognizes this is it. This is it. Westwind's right past here. If there wasn't this fog, we would see it right now. We would see Westwind. It would be right in front of us right now. We would have visibility of it. So slight incline up, and then it levels out a bit, and then we get to like this shoreline, and there'll be a big cliff. We're probably within 10 minutes right now. And on the cliff, there's going to be this like divide into the cliff face, which that divide will lead into a cove that goes down to the seafloor. And so that nervousness that you're here, Roderick, first time back after a long little journey out. But you got your illusion magic. You are aware that illusion magic lasts 1 hour, and then you have
to basically kind of every hour kind of make sure that
you will have to recast it. That's the thing I wanted to stress here. You can't just refresh it without doing it. You do have to do the components, right? The vocal / material or
it's vocal and somatic.
So then somatic. You'll have to make the gesture and then do arcane mumbo jumbo mutterings, right? Which means that if you're in an inopportune moment where it's about to drop because of that, right? People would suddenly see you convert back. So you have to be careful with how you use this, right?
Right. He would look at he would pull out his clock, crank it a few times, and kind of use that as the reference for his timing with that. So
he's got a clock.
Okay. I mean, you know how long the spell or proximity is, anyways, right? You would have a good gauge on that. So I just want you to be aware that, like, if you guys end up in a complication where you're having to run and it's going to take you like 20 minutes, you don't have the opportunity to like refresh it. It could, there's opportunities where this could become a complication for you. I guess we'll just copy. So copy Roderick, and then we'll make.
Yes. Oh yes. A new figure. A new figure needs a new name.
Why is it not letting me,
Uh-huh.
Any suggestions?
you put
I
it
have
in?
one.
Okay, so
I
that
have
file
one,
you
but-
sent me is not by
Oh,
default.
just-
However,
Yeah,
I can
save
fix
it.
this.
Like,
What
the
I'll
link.
do is I'll snip it.
Oh, you're gonna cheat.
I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna make it a JPEG by using the snip tool,
Gotta love the snip tool, man.
and then we're just gonna
Yeah.
paste it into here, and it's gonna reload it, and it's gonna put it on Discord server, and now it's a JPEG. And now I can copy this link,
I don't know how I ever lived without the snip
and
tool.
then wait, what?
Screen captures just aren't the same.
Yeah, it's a total. It's the link that I sent you though.
Yeah, I tried that link. It didn't work though.
Really?
There we go. Yeah, no, because it was like a .webmp or something. Yeah, it's a WebP
Okay.
file. It has to be JPEG or PNG. Tabletop Simulator hasn't updated to WebP format. But I converted it to a
Okay.
JPEG by using the snip tool. Now we have Roderick 2.0.
That is Crom E Nam.
Huh?
Nope.
His name he went officially
Nope.
Crom E Nam.
Crommy Nom.
That is no. I'm not calling
What?
He's gotta call him Crom. What's wrong with Crom?
Why can't you just go with crummy name?
Crommy name.
Okay, so with that,
Wait, what is your new name?
he isn't. He currently still
I'm
Roderick
about-
unless he gives you guys an name.
Yeah, I'm thinking Crom E Nam.
Can I get that spelled out on a napkin, please?
It's like the worst name ever.
I know.
That's the point.
Come on, you gotta be something better than that.
I've been trying to
This is a
think about
literal
stuff.
conversation between
Good lord.
Evelyn and Roderick.
There's a whole lot of people with red hair in our group.
All right, Crom E Nom.
Red's a very nice color.
No, don't do that. I'm just with Crom.
No,
Red's the
It's your
color
own
of blood.
my
token.
name is Crom.
It's your own token. Put your name on your own token. Then I'm done with this. Moving on, Westwind in front of you. All right. So, the nervousness of coming towards the city, it builds up inside you, right? Look, the threat of being back here, and hopefully you're more powerful. I mean, you are stronger than you were back then, and you have allies, powerful allies, that are with you. So, but will it be enough? Will it be enough? Is kind of like what's probably going through your character's head right now. And after another like 5 minutes to 8 minutes, the fog finally gets close enough where you can now see the divide where the road continues forward and it begins to coil. And there's like a juncture right before it begins to coil where you can go left and you can go right and you can go straight. And this is the juncture right in front of Westwind. So, you guys would be approximately right here on the road right now, right? So let's just get our boy Crom E Wall to represent you all right. Unless his name's differently. He represents the Heartseeker band. So you guys are here. So as you move forward along the road, you can go left. Left of this junction. Roderick knows that this heads to the Underlook. The city is partitioned into 3 main avenues. If you go left, the Underlook, which is an area that stays the altitude with the rest of the upper portion of the cliff face, right? If you go right, there's also a portion that stays approximately the same altitude, but it does rise up a little bit and stays on the upper portion of the cliff face, and that would be the Overlook. And then there is this kind of coil-like wind that when you get over here, you can start going down this coiled corridor and get to the Jaws, which is this kind of cove that is basically built in the lower at sea level, basically, and then it ramps right out into the sea where the pier and port happens to be. So that area is called the Jaws, and the Jaws is effectively the predominant landscape. Right? That's the stomach. That's the heart of the city. That's where industry and the main trade and value of Westwind, the ports, the warehouses, the majority of lower class. Most people will be kind of jammed into the Jaws, right? But at this point, there's no gate right now when you come on the road here, when you have to make your first choice, right? But you could make a left right now and go to the Underlook. The Underlook is not walled off. It has the means where you could technically just go off the path and then like roam into it. It's like almost like an extension of the city. that's been built more recently, and there isn't a wall protecting the south side of the city on that cliff face, right? But Roderick, you know that there are some amenities there. Your former residence would be in the Underlook. If you guys go right, then you get the option of at the two gates. The first gate going down to the Jaws, right? You'd go through the quail and get to the Jaws. I mean, that's kind of really considered the city, right there. Or you could go past that and end up over here at the gate to the Overlook. The Overlook is where the rich and the elite live. Very big vistas and mansions, right? And the most affluent individuals of the area live in that facility. Roderick, though, by default knows that the Overlook is an invite-only entry. You have to be a noble, basically, of Westwind to be able to get past the guards to get to the Overlook. There are connections. You could be invited by a noble in there, and they'll let you come inside, right? But one of the complications here is, like, even though Evelyn's a noble of Windheim, she wouldn't be able to immediately gain entry into the Overlook. She would have to conspire and then get permission by a noble that lives there, or other person that's a resident in that area, and then through showing documentation and permit, whatever, right, you could then gain entry. So by default, you guys wouldn't have access to the Overlook right now, right, unless you did a con or conspired with some of the nobles that might be in the Jaws, right? So this is kind of the first decision for you guys, right? As you get to this junction here, you do see that straight ahead of you, this little gray, thick blob right here, that is a walled section. So the northern portion of the Underlook does have a wall, and then that wall goes up about 30 feet, and it looks like it's almost more meant to overlook down into the Jaws rather than actually for protection for the Underlook, right? You would recognize that the elevation begins to drop right here at this gate, and then it would go down in a relatively high gradient in this kind of switchback style section. This gray blob right here, the lighter gray section, is also a wall, and there's like ramparts and such at the top of it. And this gray one is a little bit higher in elevation because it is using the cliff, a higher cliff of the Overlook. So you should imagine that in front of you, there's basically this kind of like labyrinth, right? You have a flat edge, so I'm gonna try to do a quick crap illustration here. You got the Underlook over here, Underlook, and then you have this slightly taller, and that's the Overlook. And then there's this valley that kind of switchbacks in between before it then spreads out into the Jaws down below, right? And then in these switchbacks, there are these massive walls on this side, and there's also walls on this side in between each switchback. So hopefully that really shitty illustration from your road perspective gives you an idea of like what you're going into. This would technically be down in elevation. Whoops. Anyhow, so that's the rough idea, right? So you're here. There are some scale scarred knights that are currently walking along the road here, but they don't immediately pay any attention to you. They seem to be kind of moving across the road towards the Underlook, where they're probably going to engage with some of the citizens down there, right? It's not uncommon for there to be some scale scarred outside the walled area itself, just kind of doing a little like perimeter sweep. That's not too uncommon. You do know that all the scale scarred soldiers, they're wearing chainmail, or in some cases, some of them have plate or half plate, right? Every single one of them has a rapier on their hilt. That's the weapon of Westwind. All the knights use rapiers. And there is this kind of dark blue, it's almost like an ocean blue trim color that is like on their gamisons or their tabards, right? That upon their person. It's similar almost to the blue that Inner Windheim uses, but it's darker. Inner Windheim's more of like an azure blue for like the People's Band and the Tribune. This one's a much darker, like almost like a deep ocean blue, right? So these people they kind of walk by you, a squad of like 3 of them, not paying any immediate attention to you. You are not stopped, typically are not stopped in the city unless you're going through a bottle checkpoint, right? Like the gates themselves. Roderick, immediately upon you, before you even have made your decision of which way the group should go, this is not the Westwind you recall. There's no one here. It's never been more evident. There normally would be hundreds of people on this road at this time of day, going in and out of the city. There'd be wagons, there'd be like kids running around, there'd be gooses that have gotten loose, they're squawking and screeching and hissing, right? There'd just be like outdoor markets that are being like kicked out of the city because you're not supposed to put stalls up here, right? Like there just would be all this random chaos, and there's none of it. There are no people currently visible to you right now besides the few scale-scarred soldiers that just walk to the left towards the underlook right now. You can see, because there's fog, you can see that up along the wall ahead of you, the first wall up here, along the ramparts, there are orange torches. There are soldiers up there that are moving, patrolling up there. There must be scale-scarred knights up there. And they're using torchlight to signify their position to their comrades, and or maybe use that light to help see down below. Again, you have 300 feet of visibility approximately. It's shrunk maybe a little bit now that you're closer to the coast. Maybe it's more like 200 feet of visibility now, right? But still a respectable amount of feet of visibility. It's not that bad of fog. But you can see clearly that there are people up there. There is a military presence here. And it's never been more apparent to you how much is here when there's not a crowd, a sea of people helping to hide it. So as your party finally comes up this junction, and you, probably leading the charge, kind of come to a stop to think, all of you have your horses stop as you kind of look at the back of Roderick, who probably is thinking to himself real quick, what would you guys like to do?
I'll ask you for your opinion, you guys. What is the first thing that we should do?
There's 3 paths in front of us. Would you know which one would... I don't know, where the wealthiest people would be? The people that would be most defended from the plague?
He'll point towards the...
I think we should start there, though.
No.
We won't be able to get in.
I don't suppose you know any doctors in town.
What do you know? Any doctors in town? Where?
So
This is for which?
there would be doctors, right? The doctors, there's a variety. There's some doctors, apothecaries down in the Jaws. There's also middle class ones in the Underlook, right? If they're still open right now, right? Like there's no way to know, but you would know. So let's kind of give like a skim for you, right? A reminder here. Roderick, as pitched to me when you made your character, lived a basically very impoverished life, right? So you almost certainly lived in the Jaws in your youth. And then you were adopted by Donnell, and Donnell, having a respectable career as a guard, a well-reputed guard in the city. In fact, he was basically in line. He was effectively not vice captain, but about to be a vice captain, right? He lived in the Underlook. So when you got adopted, you had an immediate quality of life promotion or improvement, where you basically got to live in the Underlook, right? But then the years you spent with Donnell kind of disassociate yourself from the Jaws because of that luxury, right? So your old accomplices, those years, you aged and they aged, and so you might remember some of them, but you also might not even have the capacity to remember some of them now because of the time that's passed since you've seen them. At this point, though, it's really your decision to determine how antiquated your character would have lived their life with those years with Donnell before the bad stuff started happening, right? Where he eventually got in prison and then ultimately died, right? That soon led to you eventually becoming alone, ending up taking side jobs, accidentally becoming a sucker in a scheme, surviving that, becoming a warlock, right? Like, and that's all within like the last year, that last bit, right? So it's your choice, really. Like, what did Roderick do in his free time? Did he like go back in the Jaws and spend like the most of his free time down there, or was he living middle class life in the Underlook?
Well, I say they probably did both, but let's begin in Underlook then. And I guess you'll take us to I guess swing by and one of the local apothecaries and see if they're open.
So, making your way left, you're heading to effectively towards your residence. There are a couple things of immediate note. Obviously, the city has way more amenities than I could possibly detail to you guys. And since none of you really wanted to tell me what your plans were for the city, I had to shotgun a whole hopeful spread of crap. So hopefully, we'll have some interaction points to actually get traction somehow. My God, please, Kixlooney, help us. So, you go this way. The dots here would indicate things I would assume the party might have interest in, okay? Might.
Is that why there's so many dots?
You might not know all these, currently Roderick might not know all of these facilities, right? So some of these are things that are potential lead-ins for later down, but there's some options. Immediately, I would say, so you're saying you have to make a pick, Roderick. Were you Jaws oriented in your later adolescence, or were you Underlook oriented in the later adolescence? I need to have a decision. It can't be both. It has to be one of the two.
Pick one, and we'll go to the other one.
My interpretation of the story you pitched to me was, you lived an Underlook life. You became a middle class citizen. That's what I figured you did. But if you wanted to change it, this is the last chance to change that to make it more.
Okay, because I mean, like where we started, he wasn't like in the initial first beginning, like he wasn't like impoverished. So I would imagine that he would be, I guess, kind of he would have started in Underlook, then get kind of because of the stuff that happened with his family, he ends up in the Jaws, and then back into the Underlook.
Right.
And then after that again. We'll keep him in Underlook.
Okay, so the Underlook is your main privy. Okay, yeah, I wish I could have maybe discussed this in better detail before we got here, but whatever. Fourth wall break.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, so Underlook.
Possible that like became a PI that he was spending a lot of time in the Jaws though, even though he was living in the Underlook, because like he was doing a lot of investigative stuff, so he could have been like investigating seedy areas in the Jaws.
Yeah. So it's not. I'm not gonna say he has no knowledge of the Jaws. It's just that it frames for me the amount of contacts that he could have immediately available to him, right? The immediate privy he would have in respective avenues, right? His connections with let's say his old gang. If he wasn't really interacting with them, then he basically would have, unless they had some severe, obvious, defects or birthmarks, he probably wouldn't recognize them in his later years, right? If he wasn't living down the Jaws with them regularly, right? Or interacting with them, right? That's the kind of...
Thank God they're all deformed.
Yeah, they have Handy, who has only one hand.
Yep.
Thank you, Handy!
They all got clever nicknames, too. One-Eye Joe.
So yeah, I mean, it have to be things like that, right? That's the kind of frame I'm trying to. So Kyle, you as Baldric loved that you wanted the party to have a plan. I, as the DM, really wanted to have a plan when I came into Westwind, and Roderick just wasn't, or Petit really was just like, let's just go. So.
Pause. We're supposed to have I think we're supposed to have a conversation at some point.
We were supposed to over breakfast make a plan, and we did not do that.
You had the opportunity. I know. I gave you all the opportunity. So.
Well, you gave us 10 seconds to think about it.
Did you?
Whoa.
But yes,
I said interrupt me whenever you want, and you could have planned on the road this last hour while we were here too. Come on, don't, please. I gave you a chance. Don't you claim I didn't.
I said you did. It just wasn't very long. That's all.
You had the whole hour trip. The hours, hour in real life to talk. That's a long window. Oh man, I feel like everyone busts my chops. Okay.
Never.
Underlook. So the things that would be immediately Well, so let's kind of go through the points. So effectively, Roderick, you know of the following, right? So 16, everything in the Underlook here would be a place of relative importance, right? So 16 is called the Radial Cove. This is effectively the only religious institution in the entire city. Westwind doesn't have temples dedicated to individual gods. There might be like small shrines and statues and things like that, right? But there isn't a temple. There's one massive temple called the Radial Cove, and historically it was dedicated to all the gods. Inside of it, it's like a circular temple, and there's like a little cubby for each individual god, right, of the celestial court. However, Roderick, you being a resident now, choosing the Underlook as your main focus, would be aware that the Radial Cove doesn't have a very good standing with most of the population. They haven't had a large amount of people that have actually had divine boons, if ever, especially in the later years. And so since they don't actually have the means to effectively give divine impact to the population, people don't really go there, right? You can't help cure someone's disease, and if the gods aren't, going to the people that are running the institution, does that mean the institution isn't in the divine's hands, right? There's just a level of mistrust. But you can still get, your stereotypical sermons and stuff like there. You can still get guidance there. There are things that happen at Radial Cove, but it's nowhere near what like Veneer is, right? It's nowhere near like that, right? It feels much more like a church, is like a stereotypical modern Earth church is what it feels like, right? So you can interpret that however you really want to, but that's what it would feel like to you. So that would be a place that would maybe be like a gathering point for people, or if people were desperate, as in the times are claiming now, they might have information there, right? So that's a place that would be prominent for you. 17 is your old family home. You did leave in a kind of abrupt hurry, though, based on the last transgressions. It might not be your home anymore, right? But that's where it would be, number 17. 18, the Golden Cup, is an inn. There are two relatively established inns. There's more in the Underlook, but there's two moderately established inns, the Golden Cup and then the Feathered Clutch, which is 19, a little bit further away. Both of these inns have their own respective, values and possible amenities available to them. I won't get into those specifically right now unless you're but those are gathering points, because there's inns, so you could go there and try to see, talk to people, right? That's a place of prominence. And then the last place, the Serpine Circuit, right over here, number 20. The Serpine Circuit is the way that a visitor of high status from a different kingdom or affluent individual that's visiting Westwind, they can come into the Underlook and they could go to the Serpine Circuit, and there is a noble who's in charge of the Underlook, just like there's a noble in charge of the Jaws. These are administrators. The city is run by Lady Cersei von Merd, and she actually does do direct control her home, her estate, right. They handle the entire city, but the city is also broken into the three other districts. Cersei does control the immediate affairs of the Overlook, but she has her two administrators in the other two regions that act as the face and the governmental immediate decisions of those regions. And the Serpine Court is where one of those administrators is. Let's go to Westwind. Her name is just a really weird hodgepodge. It's like down here. Administrator Elsafi Falsona. She would be the administrator of Underlook. So, for example, if you guys wanted to try to get access to the Overlook, you could go to her residence there, right? The Serpine Circuit. Maybe get a meeting with her. Might not be immediate, but then you could try to make like an appeal. And since she's technically a noble of Westwind, she can invite you into the Overlook, right? Just like there's also an administrator in the Jaws. What's his name? It's like Fairbanks, I think. Joshua Fairbanks. He would be in the Conver Hall in which I think is number 10. Yeah, number 10. Conver Hall. You could go to in the Jaws and talk to Joshua Fairbanks instead, right? Okay, anywho, so as you kind of make your way through the city, starting to go through the underlook, there's no walls to the south of you. There are the walls to the north of you, right? 30-foot tall walls, and they kind of just give this, like, even though the rest of the party hasn't really experienced it, you can kind of feel like this almost like presence of, like, from the wall, there's like people watching you, right? You get that feeling that there is people watching you from the wall, right? You don't feel so cloistered from where you're coming right now, but you can just see it, right? Like to the right, there's these little torches on that wall that are moving up there, right? Moving into the city, the south portion of the city, the south cliff face, the underlook. There are a couple people walking the street. Not many. There are a couple. A few citizens. Some people that are looking like to go get food, right? They have like baskets available to them. One of them actually probably has already hit the market. There's like, some bread and what might be some fish available to them, and they're kind of like hurrying their way through the street. You can see that like every person here, kind of like when we were in the shark with COVID, there's a significant distance. Everyone's kind of like guarded to themselves. If they're out here, they're not like, hi, how's it going, Frank? Right? They're just like moving from point A to point B with expedience, effectively, right? There's a level of urgency to not be out on the street. You do see a couple scale scarred soldiers, scale scarred knights. You also, as you kind of come into like the first junction here, right? You would see that there happens to be a wagon currently present, right? And there are some soldiers present, as well as some Wormsworth associates. You can tell they're Wormsworth associates because they have like that blue emblem of that Dragonborn profile, right? But both the guards and the Wormsworth associates have weird clothing on. These individuals are like gowned up in thick woolen fabrics, and there seems to be some kind of like disagreement between the soldiers, because you can see like they're wearing their like chainmail over the woolen fabrics, right? There seems to be kind of like some disagreement happening between these two respective sides. Let's go to the script. Yeah, so you see the profiles of a handful of people around a wagon that is packed up. The driver of the wagon is dismounted and gesturing with a handful of individuals who are wearing thick woolen fabrics over their persons. These individuals have heavy hoods covering their faces, with two glass lenses woven into the fabric itself, letting them see out underneath the hoods. Their bodies are fully clothed. You cannot see any of their hair or their skin. Some of them have the Wormsworth crest on their breasts, while others of them are wearing mail and have the dark blue trim of the scale-scarred soldiers or knights on it. The merchant, who does have a mask covering, right? By the way, are you all wearing your mask coverings?
Of course.
Yes.
Yes.
Ikala is.
Okay, so
Yes.
everyone is. Got it. Okay, so you're all wearing whatever handkerchiefs or cloth you've had to make a covering of your face, right? I should have mentioned there were signs that had the same nonsense along the way, right? That it was like silent plague, stay 6 feet apart, wash regularly, like that kind of stuff. Right? You saw little signs on the road like that way, and it's very clear the city is heavily practicing these rules. So the merchant. As I've been saying, I've already been looked at by the front guards today. My goods and I are fine.
Doesn't matter. I told her to move aside and let us look.
Are you daft? You can't.
At this rate, you're on a date with the gullet. Now stand back.
On what charges? I've done nothing wrong.
You're impeding our investigation.
You never said why you stopped me. You can't just detain.
You don't know the law better than we do.
Wait, what?
Go on, get looking.
And he gestures towards the Wormsworth associates. They're kind of like hesitantly standing back. No, wait, I don't consent to this. Stop it.
Back up, buddy. I've warned you enough.
And the merchant then tries to like stop them from like moving into his wagon, and immediately one of the other Scale Scarred soldiers grabs him by like the back of his arm, twists it behind his back, and then slams it onto the ground, puts a knee like on the back of the neck, right? And there's some struggling and screaming coming on from this guy as the Wormsworth associates begin to like climb up into the wagon and start poking around. One of these soldiers, not the one that was talking, he looks over towards your group.
Nothing to see here, folks. Keep moving along. Nothing to see here.
Yeah, let's keep going, guys.
Your group continues moving forward. Now, you guys are currently on your horses still, but you don't have to be on your horses. You could dismount if you want, or you could kind of ride through. You do realize that if you went to alleyways, that would be a little bit more of a problem, right? The main street's okay to do this. So by default, assume that you're still riding your horses.
Yeah.
All right. So moving past this altercation, you have the option, Roderick, to go to any of the places I pointed out to you, unless there's one that you could concoct in your head that I couldn't prepare in advance of something you were looking for.
I won't do that to you right now. We'll talk a little later on that. Shall we try to at least stable the horses? English has failed me today.
Yeah, I think they'll be safe. We can try to find a stable. I guess it could be.
We can go to. There are 2 inns nearby we can go to.
Okay.
There definitely are. There are definitely stables. Nondescript, right? This is not terribly important. And they usually are located near the front of the entryways in and out. So you find a stable. The individual, it's kind of like a greasy looking dwarf who doesn't look like he's washed in quite a bit of time. His beard is unfortunately not fully grown in. It's almost like parts of it are like have rotted away over his aging face. He looks like he's in his later middle ages, right? It just like the beard has not held on, right? But as you've found his establishment, let's call it the Tacky Wheel. Yes, we could definitely take any animals you'd like to leave in our care here. Lucky for you, there's another vacancy, so there's an extra good promotion to come to the Tacky Wheel and leave your animals with us.
Sure, how much?
Yes, based off of the prime real estate available to you, we are only asking for half a silver a day per animal.
And that includes food and water and stuff?
Yep, we'll take care of your animals. We'll even give them a little bit of a walkabout to give them some strength. Those extra services right here at the Tacky Wheel.
Sounding good to everybody else?
Sounds decent to me.
Yeah.
So would you like to just do a little charter for like a week or so then?
Sure.
Perfect! Alright, so you have 6 animals, right? This one's coming in too?
Which one's he pointing at? Mine?
Yeah, yours.
Yeah.
It has a special diet.
What's
but actually, I don't think I'll need him. And have a good rest, buddy. And I pat him on the back, and Vortex disappears.
There was no need to do that. We would have taken him in. All right.
I know.
Yeah, as it happened, there was a
hellish flames reach
a
up
little bit
from
of
the ground and drag
illumination.
him down.
Yeah, just very, very, very painful for Vortex whenever you send him back
Poor
to the
buddy.
house.
Yeah.
Poor guys now. Oh shit, I'm back here. And the imps immediately come swarming.
Starts mauling the wildlife.
All right, so with that, so five steeds. All right, so it's going to be 5 copper a day, and we're going to do 7 days. That's 3.5 silver per animal. So that's 15, and then 15 silver. Oh, I'm not very good at that. Let's just
10 gold.
Let's just do it.
It's 1 gold, 7.5 silver. Here.
I'll just give him two gold.
Oh,
Thork was reaching out for the same amount, but
thank you. We'll give your animals we'll even clean up a little bit for you. Appreciate it. All right.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Tacky wheel. Whenever you come back to Westwind, come to the tacky wheel for your animals. All right, you beauties, come with me. Hey,
Thork's gonna have
Ralphine,
an
get
extra
over here. I need some
5.
help with these. And this like little small squirt like child comes waddling in. I'll help you, Pop. And then he kind of helps lead one of the horses, and they takes him towards the stables, which you see are completely empty. There's not a single animal there.
Thork's gonna give him like
saved
5
the
extra.
business.
Sorry, what's
Oh,
that,
you're gonna give
Doma?
him extra?
Literally saved the business by visiting it.
Probably, right?
Thork's gonna give him 5 extra silver, and he's gonna say,
Right, these are very high quality steeds. Make sure you take good care of them. Don't skimp out on the food either.
Yes, sir. Can do.
Very good.
So he'll take the extra. So 2.5 gold you guys have given now.
these are super high quality horses.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
They are very good quality
Yeah.
horses. Yeah.
very.
Kind of like the typical rate for a stabling a horse is about $1 a day, right? For 7 days for 5, it would have cost you guys 2 gold. You basically paid the normal rate now, but it's fine.
We
That's
paid
fine.
more. We paid extra.
Yeah, but they're surely going to do the best they can, right? Like you're the only. You've surely they look like they haven't been eating well, right? Whether it was a financial burden or a different burden, it doesn't look like
The
they've
kid came out in rags.
So, all right. So the tacky wheel, surely we'll remember that name. Either way, I'm sure your horses will be fine. Anywho, so you are free, liberated of those equestrians, equestines. Anywho, you guys get back on the street and are allowed to move as you see fit.
Do we still want to visit the apothecary and figure out what's going on? Or do we
Yeah.
just,
Section or something.
So moving down to like let's say the center courtyard here, right? Just kind of like meandering a little bit towards the center of the city because that lets you kind of go any direction you guys want to go, right? You would see that there's a little bit more congestion here than what you've seen elsewhere and thus far in the city, but the congestion seems to be in small little like cliques. There's like groups of 3 to 4 people kind of like talking to each other. This courtyard normally would have large amount of traffic. Nowhere near as much as the Jaws. The Jaws is literally the main purpose of the city, right? That's what makes the city valuable is the Jaws. But nonetheless, the Underlook still had its own little microeconomy, right? Its own microcosm. And this street would still have tons of people meandering through it, right? There are markets up here, even though the majority of everything goes down the Jaws. There are still some amenities up in the Underlook, right? This is kind of more like the residential area. You can kind of think of it's the suburbs, and when you had to go to work, you would go down into the Jaws, and then you would do your shift, and you'd come climbing back up, and oh, honey, what's dinner tonight, right? But there was still there's bakeries and other small little markets that are also available in the Underlook. And this courtyard, the main courtyard here, would have such immediate access to things. But all the stalls and such that would be here, Roger, they're closed up, right? There's no immediate little tents of the open market or anything like that. None of that's present. It's all empty. It's all gone here. Instead, there's a different collection of tents that you guys have seen on your journey thus far. White woolen tents with the Wormsworth Association, according to them, right? There's a little still medical community here. As if this is the place where the doctors in this region of the city are currently staying for their night or their days, right, when they want to get rest. And it looks like the people that are currently talking in their little cliques are mostly Wormsworth associates. There are some scale-scarred soldiers talking with these individuals, but it looks almost like the entire, from your guys' perspective thus far, it looks like the entire city basically is almost on shutdown, right? It's on lockdown, and that the only people that well, not forced to be the only people that can move freely, but the only ones that seem to be moving freely are either Wormsworth Associates or Scale-Scarred Knights. And so you see probably five respective cliques here in this little area that's been repurposed for the Wormsworth Association. There is several like little like stone areas that have been like arenas that have had like fires put into them, where you're not supposed to put a fire onto the environment, but they've allowed it for this emergency situation, right? So there's a couple campfires that have stones around them to prevent the fires from breaking out and destroying the entire city. And there's people kind of like huddle around there, sipping fluids or eating things, right? And that's where the little cliques happen to be present, right? And this is what you see in this immediate courtyard right now.
Roderick, is there a tavern or an inn in this area of the city?
Yeah, we're not too far.
Okay.
And he kind of like tap his foot looking around.
One.
I'd hate to ask, but
Go ahead.
would you guys be okay? Would you guys be okay in Belgium just a little more?
What?
I used to live not too far from here.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, You're asking us to indulge you a little more.
Of
Is
course.
that what you said?
Yes.
Yeah.
Roderick, we gave blood for a demon fucking ritual a few moments ago. I think we'll be fine with a tavern.
Or visiting your home.
All right.
I think it's fine. Thanks for asking, though.
Mission's important.
So do you lead him
Yeah,
towards the Crow Estate?
Yes.
Okay. Moving through the city, you kind of walk down the paths, and then still heavily vacant, right? There's very few people. But there is an interesting interaction kind of at this crossroad up here. You see a couple people kind of gathered around I gotta get back to the script. Around a person on a box. There's a small crowd. You hear it before you see it. A person shouting out, and what sounds like the murmurs of a crowd in front of them, and then you see their silhouettes as you take the corner. You get a view of a person on a box or a crate and a small cluster of people gathered in front of him. Yes, heed me, fine folks of Westwind. What more showing must we see before we learn enough is enough? Look at your fellow man, neighbor, spouse, and child. Look at the loss across these streets. Our streets! We are the ones that made these streets. We are the ones that made these stalls, these shops, these docks. We are the ones that built this dream. Our dream. Of course they don't act. Of course they don't care. They didn't bleed to put these stones down. They didn't cry when we suffered to shape this land. They don't choke on the silence that has consumed our loved ones. They think themselves better because they were born from fat teats. But we are the ones that have the power, not them. We can fix these wrongs, fix our home, and save our loved ones. If you wish to learn more, come to the Wise Wanderer tonight at 9 p.m. They might have denied your invitation to their ball, but we will invite you to the masquerade. And then there's like some people that have kind of like dismissed it and like huff-puffed walked away, when some other people seem to be kind of like agreeing with this individual. And they're like entering private conversations with this man now in more hushed, lower volume voices, right? You turn the corner, heading now south towards your homestead, with hearing that like altercation starting to get more muted from behind you. In front of you, Roderick.
Who do you think they is?
I'm not sure. What?
Lumi's just utterly clueless. Lumi doesn't understand class warfare quite yet.
Not
It's
yet.
never been a thing that we would have to deal with.
The masquerade.
What was the name of the friggin' place they wanted us to gather?
The Wise Wander.
The Wise Wanderer.
If I heard that correctly.
I didn't bring any of my masks.
I don't suppose any of you were busy at 9 o'clock.
Do you think there's something we should check out?
I'm a little curious.
Of course we're going to be busy. We're trying to cure. Oh, you think we can get clues there?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's okay, Libby. We'll help you pick it all up.
All right.
Okay.
So as you guys talk and walk, eventually, Roderick, you kind of come to a stop as you see your old home. There's the fence. There's the gate that would constantly break apart, and Donnell would have to fix every other month. Get out there and try to tweak it back, and then some random cat would like sit on it. There was a notorious fat cat in your block that would like to perch itself on that gate and always would break it. Donnell would always grumble to himself every time he repaired the damn thing.
Fat cat.
And it looks like the gate is broken, as you recall it. Doesn't look like it's been repaired. Right beyond that is a single tree in the front yard. There once was, a long time ago, a rope that used to hang off one of the branches, but that was removed when you got to more of an adult age, or more later in your years, I should say. And there's a single-story building in the center of this lot, and this is it's its own little home space, right? There's other homes nearby it, but there's like a front yard. There's a space around the house itself, right? It's cut for this one property here, and it's vacant. There's no one there. It's open. There's no boarded up windows. There's no people running around right now. It's kind of like how you remember it, though the grass has kind of grown in, but it was grown in and such back when you were here before because you didn't have the luxury to really deal with that gardening anymore, right? But it does look like that it's kind of grown a little bit more, hit the height that the vegetation will grow onto its own capacity if left untamed for a long period of time. And it's been a long period of time since you were last here.
You'll look around. Is there anybody around that we can, that would say be looking at us or anything?
Perception check.
Shit.
I'm not gonna give you that for free.
Who's staring at me?
What do you mean, shit? You don't want our boy Declan? That's the name of it. We don't want Declan to visit the Donnell estate and possibly.
16.
What'd we get?
16 on the perception there. 16.
16. There doesn't appear to be anyone that is out on the street paying attention to you. Maybe it's just pure luck, or if there was someone paying attention, they're hiding. But you don't see anyone from your current perspective that's hawking this residence right now.
Oh. So kind of go up to the door.
Kyle, I can't believe he's... Oh, Kyle, you didn't see it. Check this out. Bam. Anywho,
where am I supposed to look at this?
on the center of the table.
Oh. Oh, what is this?
That's something I drew.
I saw some. Yeah, it's a coffin. Oh, man.
All right. So yes. Back to. So
is that what's going on? Is all getting too much lasagna and then it's turning orange?
you know he listens to this after later in the week, so he's gonna.
Yes, I'll take another serving of lasagna, please. Lasagna, please.
Lasagna.
All right. Right, back to this tension that I was creating. Oh, I'm so stupid. Okay. The home is in front of you, vacant. There doesn't appear to be anyone watching you right now. Everyone seems kind of have like a little bit of apprehension. They're waiting for you to take the first move. This is your state, right?
Yeah, and will we make his way to the front door?
All right. So you and your guise of a different person move up to the front gate. You kind of like lift it up so that it's no longer like leaning outside. So then you can then open it fully, and you drop the gate on the other side. So now it's kind of like hanging off of one of the broken hinges again. But it allows full entry inside. And you take steps into the front yard. Does everyone follow, or do they just leave Roderick to go on alone?
I follow him. Evelyn will follow.
Sure.
Call will follow then.
Call and Thork would follow, of course.
Oh, yep.
course.
Following on
You got it.
foot.
Okay. Baldrick mumbles to himself. Doesn't follow.
How large is this place again?
It is a middle class home. So probably, I really don't know acreage. Let's 1.5 acres, right? I think that's what like our old home was.
Whoa, no, it's not. whoa.
I don't know what acreage. Okay, so let's just say it's,
acreage is huge, dude.
Okay,
That's a
then
lot.
Host.
Couple hundred square feet. I don't know.
My house in Buckley is 8,000 square foot lot. That's
okay.
my house in Buckley.
Sure, that's larger than what I would want it to be. Let's make it.
I think it's like which is like 1/8 or 1/16 of an acre. So
6,000.
So let's put it at like 6,000 square feet then.
Okay. Well, I'm not talking about the actual land. I'm talking about the actual size of the house. I was
House is a single-story dwelling. Single-story dwelling.
Baldrick's gonna hang out outside. It sounds like it might be a little cramped for like 4 people walking in there all of a sudden. So I'll just hang out.
4?
Out there.
You mean 6? There's 6 of
you.
you.
Did everyone go in?
7.
I thought
1, 2,
like
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 of you actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, either way.
Everyone's curious.
Well, everyone besides
I'll just sit out here and just sort of, look at the sky. No. I'll be looking for, like, if a guard walks by, and maybe I'll talk to him about disappearances before the outbreak happened. Yes.
I'm just not on my game today. I'm supposed to change music when we got to the city. Okay. Yeah, you'll try to keep an eye out for a guard if there happens to be one that walks by. Okay.
Yeah, it's like...
Yeah, okay. Roderick, taking point. You move up to the front porch. Your hand reaches out towards the doorknob. Do you turn it and open, or do you knock? What do you do?
Considering this guy to kind of look it over, like he's prospecting it a little bit, and then we'll try the doorknob.
Okay, so staying in the disguise, you try the doorknob. The door is locked.
All right. Let's try a quick knock.
Okay, you knock on the door. You wait. And wait. And wait. And not once in any of that do any of you hear noise from the interior of the building.
You want me to unlock it?
So you still happen to have a key.
I have something better, and she just kind of waves her hand. That's a spell.
Do know, I think that spell does make a large noise.
Yeah, it explodes.
Oh, no, okay.
Just want you to be aware of that, okay?
But if you cast silence first,
I don't think it has silence.
Would he happen to know like a spare key somewhere along the property?
Let's just leave it up to chance. Go ahead and make a history check to me. We'll leave it to that.
Okay.
Hey, it's one of those frogs that you hide the keys under, right there.
I think I'm lagging.
Hide a frog.
Yeah, I'm lagging very bad.
the hide frog. This rock is oddly suspicious. The only one on the porch.
You'd think the key's in his mouth, but it's actually under his butt.
14.
Sure, why not? So that's not a frog. It's not a false stone, but rather there's a brick on the side of the wall of the dwelling. It's you kind of just peel it off. It's not a full brick, and it's just like partial plaster, and then you can peel it off, and there's a key there. It's a spare key available. So sure, yes, you have found a key. Now this might work, might not work. Hopefully they didn't change the locks. If they did change the locks.
Yeah, we'll give it a try. And let's see.
Are there any gods? Any gods coming?
No guards. It is very. This city is incredibly vacant.
Post despair.
So you try the key. It works. It enters into the estate. It turns, the lock unlocks. You creak the door open. And as you stare inside, from the door, without even going in, as you stare past the archway, everything is exactly where it was before. It does not appear that any new residents have claimed this place. There is dust. There is like spider webs and stuff that have accumulated in this space. But there does not appear to be new occupants of the humanoid variety.
Wow. He would step in and they turn around and say to everybody, "Welcome to my home," or yeah, "Welcome to my home. Come on." And he would back in and light a few candles, prestidigitation.
There are some candles. And with that, there's a little bit of a glow inside. There's enough natural light, even though there's fog, that there is filtering light in it. It'd be like maybe harder to read a book, right? But you could go to the curtains and pull them back to even let more light in, or you could leave it more incognito right now if you want to leave it as it is, right? But immediately, for now, we'll leave the curtains closed. You turn on you flicker on a couple of candles. There happens to be 2 over the fireplace. Those 2 are now lit in the living room. And there was 1 candle on this like little dresser kind of thing. Not a dresser. Desk, small like little desk that you keep like near the front of the near the front door, where like you could like throw your keys or whatever like when you come inside. There was a candle there, right? So that one's lit. That's now lighting the main hallway from the front door, and then like immediately to the left, there's this like living arrangement where there's like a sofa. It's a pretty beat up sofa. And then in front of the sofa, there's like, you know, the fireplace with the 2 candles that you've kind of walked into there. You're kind of going clockwise around the first floor, just kind of like looking from room to room. Right adjacent to the living room is then the dining room, which has a circular table that can fit up to 4 people on it. You guys lived a very modest life. It was just you and Donnell. There wasn't a need for a more lavish arrangements. Adjacent to the dining room is the kitchen, which is mostly like a cupboard, and there's like some counters you could cut and such that. Cooking would be actually done in the living room. You would bring like a pot over the fireplace, right? And then if you go,
is it going to be safe for you to be here, Roger?
Not for long. I don't imagine, but I'm sure most of the people would think I would have thought I'm dead by now. So maybe there's enough of an act kind of looking over. They think we're just people coming to loot it, or just to take it over for a little bit.
Is there anyone like suspiciously eyeing the property or anything like that?
Roderick did a roll for that already.
Oh, okay.
But since you're staying up front, I'll allow a new roll for you from your perspective. Go ahead and make a perception check.
Ooh. With advantage because Eyes of the Eagle?
It's vision, yeah.
Yeah. Natural 20. Plus,
nice.
What was that? Plus 4? I think it's my perception is plus 4. We'll check. Perception is plus 4. 24.
Okay. 24.
Got good eyes, man.
Okay. No. There does not appear to be anyone that is watching this place. In fact, there doesn't appear to be anyone watching you guys at all. This is a very vacant space right now. You do hear some a dog barking several blocks away, and you can hear its like voice echoing down the empty streets. Right? It's eerie, Baldric. There is that liminal space where this is supposed to be a congregation, a place where many people could congregate. There's supposed to be people present here. So much infrastructure has been built to handle such a high volume of people, and there's no one. It feels like an apocalypse, right? Yet the streets are still relatively clean, right? But just there's just no one here. It's like it's almost if everyone just died overnight, right?
Or they were raptured.
All right. So as you went inside the main living room, maybe like from the hallway, everyone else could have gone straight. And if they went straight, instead of going left into the living room towards the kitchen, right? Well, dining table / kitchen. If you go straight, there would then be the bedrooms on the right-hand side of the room, right? Which there would be 2 bedrooms available. Both of them are currently, the doors are open. One would be Donnell's, one would be Roderick's. Roderick, unfortunately, yours was the smaller one because you weren't the master of the house. Well, I imagine Roderick and Evelyn went to the left into the living room to light the candles. Thorak and Lumi and Doma could have gone right, or they could have followed into the living room. But it's kind of like, as Baldric theorized, it'd be kind of cramped if people start bottlenecking at the bridge points. They would have to have like people kind of filter in to let them into that space, right? Or you guys can just stay.
I want to go to the living room. Like, Lumi's just sitting down. He's not exploring the house. He's waiting for Baldric to find whatever he's looking for here.
All right, so Lumi kind of squeezes his way behind Evelyn because she's kind of like hanging like kind of in the hallway talking to Roderick, and then Lumi kind of pops behind her, and then he finds the sofa and he sits down on it, and there's a very like big compression as a bunch of dust kind of gets shot in the air. This is kind of like those really cushion fabrics that have like a lot of air inside of them, and a bunch of dust just gets like ejected, airborne, and with like the light, it just filters into the space.
You know, I don't think your friends have been here a very long time.
No, it's been a while. He would move over to where Lionel used to sit and kind of just sit in the spot there for a minute, just taking it in. And
so you kind of probably go to the dining room and you just slide on the chairs, and you don't face the chair towards the center of the dining table, rather you face it towards the living room. If you guys had guests, this is like where your extra seating would come in handy, right? But you're just kind of sitting at the table, but with a chair to the back of the table, looking to wherever everyone else. As you take a seat down, the chair kind of creaks a bit. Just instinctively kind of put your arm on the right onto the table, and then you kind of like stare down at it, and you just see there's like a layer of dust. You rub a little bit onto your fingers. Evelyn, what do you do? Well, Roderick sits down in this space, just kind of like looking and feeling it. You can tell he's like in memory lane a bit, right?
I have to shadow him a little bit, probably. If like, is the kitchen table you said was on to the right when we came in?
Here's the layout I have in my mind. Okay, so front door, there's a hallway, and then there's like an entrance to the left here. Okay, so you guys would go into here. This space here is the living room. There's like a fireplace right here. There's a sofa right there. And then adjacent to this is this next room up here. And this is the dining room right here. And there's a circular table with 4 chairs placed around it. And Roderick is currently, where are you, Roderick? Where? Oh, we actually have you on the actual table. All right, we'll swap it. Krista becomes you. You come here. Roderick's here looking inward. Adjacent to this is like the little cupboard area. Okay, obviously, this did not follow dimensional space correctly. All right, whatever. Sorry, I clearly cannot do architecture very well. There's probably like a little cupboard over here with like there's a little bit more space in the kitchen. Maybe the building is a little bit comes out that way. Anyhow, then over to like the right, there'd be like a door here for. Well, let's fix this side then. Why do I care so much? Okay, so this, that. There's a room here. This is probably Roderick's room, or was Roderick's room. And then down here is the final master bedroom. So maybe there's, I don't know, like a garage or like, back entrance, like building back room back here. I don't know. Actually, let's just not have that.
Or what?
A workshop or something. Maybe?
Yeah, but in the end, I just said F it. No, it's just 2 rooms. The little cupboards. Maybe the cupboard actually would make more sense if it's behind this space back here. Yeah, that would keep the. So back here is where like the kitchen actually would be, where you would prep your food, you'd cook it over, you'd bring it into the living room and cook it, then you could eat right here. Okay, yeah, that is adequate enough. There we go. It's very, very modest living. Very modest living for sure. This is the second home that anyone else in this party has gone to in our storyline, the campaign, and the juxtaposition between where we were with the previous home to this one is very, very dramatic. There is a heavy contrast of Evelyn's life with the decor, the paintings, the busts, the statues at the front, right, and the servants, the massive garden stuff, and then there's this, right. This is like lower middle class, is what it feels like, right? Just because like the disrepair that's happened with no one being taking place. It would have been a middle class home, just a very small middle class home.
So, a thought just occurred.
I don't know who I'm in the room with. Evelyn and Roderick left.
Oh, go ahead and take your token. You got these tokens here. You can put them. Baldrick's up in front, outside the gate, just kind of like probably like leaning near the gate or inspecting the gate. I see compressions of a fat cat here.
Right, so a thought just occurred. If any of the neighbors or people around saw us entering, they might either know that you've come back or think we're burglars. Both scenarios are pretty bad, no? Was it really wise to come back here?
Now, you do say this to him as he is in a disguise of a person that does not look like him. But yeah, it does look like you guys might be just pillaging a home.
Yeah, so either we're burglars or at some point they suddenly see this abandoned home suddenly has lights in it again. So maybe like...
That's okay. We're not gonna be here long. I'm just. Yeah.
Well, it's very cozy.
There's like no decor. There's no plants. There's nothing on the walls. There's no like.
Yeah, I grew up under a rock. This is cozy.
Yeah, I'm just saying like there is nothing that of other. Everything here is. Utilitarian, right? Like everything here has a purpose, and it's kind of aged and worn.
Fuck yeah! Thark's gonna love it. Thark loves that shit.
Yeah, I'm not challenging you. I'm just kind of trying to help paint.
He's a minimalist at heart.
Paint what the environment was, right? This is a different kind of society, different kind of era of living, and like mass production didn't exist, so having things is expensive, right? It's very expensive to own furniture and such. And then when you do have furniture, you kind of like you make it last, like you patch it together. Like it's not easy to own possessions.
All right, so with Thor's prompt, yeah, you're right. I'm sure it's probably more so the latter. Let me just go through a few things and make sure nothing is necessarily left behind, and we can go tune in. And he was saying he would get up and just kind of, where would he throw stuff? Would it be in his room? Maybe stuff between Donnell's room? He'll go looking through some of the areas where he normally would keep paperwork and just look for anything that would be useful for her.
So going, the first room on your right would be your bedroom, which is also very modest, right? There's something that's immediately alarming to you when you look into your bedroom. Things have been pulled out. Drawers inside cabinets and stuff have been taken out, and things have been turned around in this room. And you know you didn't do it.
Shit. kind of go in and just try to make sense of if there's anything left or anything here.
Make an investigation roll.
Yay! Yeah, he kept everything under the floorboard, you know. Nah, 16.
16?
Yeah.
Anything? So some of the floorboards have been peeled up. Actually, people or a person, you can't tell how many, came in here looking for something. Obviously, had to have happened after the events that you left the city in. So this does kind of immediately make your kind of investigative background kind of just like immediately tick. You have culprits that would have done this. They might not know the information that you know because you don't recall telling people too much about, except for one. But that person might have had a hand of it just coming in here to making sure there was no evidence. Probably Donnell's room has been ramshackled too, is a conclusion you've come to. But they came in here, and they came in here intelligently. There doesn't appear to be any major evidence besides just the fact they didn't clean things up. Nothing. Everything just kind of been turned over, tossed around, and then left to collect, basically, right? Anything that seems of value, if you had like a small like pack of coin or anything like that, that is gone. There is nothing here that besides your old clothes, basically.
Donnell, basically checking Donnell's room. Yeah, you'll check it really quick too. Just for clarity.
There's nothing here. Parts of the floor but have been looked up. Enough of them have peeled off to allow someone to put their head and like to look, and they're in different areas to make sure there was nothing underneath the foundation or under the foundation or in the foundation, right? So this space has been picked as well.
All right. So as he comes back out to the main area, it's gonna look like. Wait, wrong. I need to take these glasses. I can't see colors. Well, Thorak.
Sorry, I'm eating a ration.
You may be right on this.
The horror that he might be eating your old food inside the house, not one of his rations, hits you, because that would be really old food.
No, rations.
Yeah. Okay. All right, everyone. Let's get out of here. There's not much else here.
Why'd you ask for me first? You need something specific.
You're just pointing out that you might be right.
Yeah.
So
There's an inn or tavern in town. Maybe we can get some food. And she just kind of looks at the ration like...
Yeah, we can head to one of the inns.
Wait, I like these rations. Yeah, alright.
Of course.
Get going.
Alright, and you would lead them out the house and lock the door.
Alright. You lock the door. Do you keep the key on you, or do you put it back on it behind the brick?
They put it somewhere different.
Where?
Trying to think what would be a good spot. I think conspicuous.
I mean, you can keep it on your person. You could keep it on your person if you want, right? So
you keep it on his person.
All right. So you lock it up, and everyone vacates the place. And there was a kind of like, at one time there probably was some liveliness here, but this place has not had that warmth of occupants in a very long time. So it felt cold and stagnant for sure. As you all usher outside, Roderick kind of closes the door.
Yeah, extinguish all the candles.
With a little bit more information about some things that he didn't know, but confirmations. He closes and locks the door. Turning out to the front yard, you see Baldric, who is just kind of like keeping an eye out, hands on his hip, just kind of like staring out towards the up and down the streets.
Did we learn anything new? Anything interesting?
I wouldn't say anything interesting, but new things nonetheless.
This place, well, out here, it's a ghost town. I don't see really much movement at all. Almost like it's been deserted or something, the whole block.
Yeah.
The common theme here. Right
This
now.
is all really weird.
I hate to say it, but I think we might have to check with the Wormsworth Association.
Uh,
Well, I figured we would at some point, but
no. We should probably. I think that's the wrong
Everyone's
approach. I
going to know
think
the most.
I'm thinking back to like what Niera was saying. She thinks that this might be sort of demonic in origin. I was wondering if we could sort of archival look before the onset of the plague.
I mean, if we go over to the Wormsworth Association and they are demonically plagued, I could probably tell.
No, that's not what I mean. I'm saying that we should go see if there was people disappearing before the plague came out. Because if we said, there's been some disappearances after the whole plague and quarantine and all that stuff started happening, then they'll be like, well, we've lost track of about 30% of the population. And be like, and then where did they go? So if we can find out some clues from people before the silent plague happened, we might have some leads to find out and snuff out. And Wormsworth won't help us. I don't think Wormsworth is going to do us any good.
But if we ask pointed questions like that, what are the chances we'll get real intel back?
So, Crom, you have ability to change other people's appearances too?
Declan.
It's Declan.
Oh.
Other people's. Not necessarily.
Wasn't it Crom? Wasn't it Crom originally?
No, that was a joke. That was the crummy name. Crummy name was a joke.
Crummy name.
Crummy name.
Okay, all right.
I thought it was.
Declan, is there a way for you to do that to other people or only to yourself?
Only for myself.
A gun. All right.
Of course.
Just, do I have any sort
Only
of...
people pick seeming.
Do I have something of my system?
No comment.
I can turn invisible. That's a good idea. And I can't ask questions. Some sort of... Does anyone have, like, putty?
Putty?
Like, we can, like, exterior the features of my face.
Like makeup?
There'd be a lot to putty.
Whatever, yes, makeups or disguises.
I do not have a disguise kit.
You would nearly need a disguise kit to be able to do that.
This is not gonna work. Not going to work. I guess we could do raised telepathic bond, and I could be out someplace else out here in Westwind. You could relay the information to me, and I could talk through you. How's that sound?
That's actually not a bad idea. I can use mislead, and we can kind of all be in one central location. On top of that.
Okay, so real quick, we're here to help, right? No one's gonna have any clue who we are or anything like that.
Won't help us at all. I can assure you, waste of time.
We'll start walking towards
That's your
the end area.
My doctored opinion, yes.
All right, so there's
educated.
There's two inns you could go to, right? The Golden Cup and the Feather Clutch. It's your choice of which one you'd prefer.
Which one was does he remember kind of gets more frequented?
Sorry, I didn't catch that again. Petite, the mic
Okay,
you're using
is
just like.
What's more frequented?
Yeah, which one is more frequented?
Yeah, sorry. Okay, let me double check the campaign guide. I mean, because you're in this area, you would know enough. So the Golden Cup it's successful. Both of these businesses are successful. Golden Cup, you believe, was run by a woman named Kelly. She was in her later middle age, right? Reasonable institution. It honestly, both were about the same business. But you did know Kelly ran that one, and then the Feather Clutch had a guy named Kenneth, and then you think it's like Hemsworth, I guess you think is his last name. But you kind of like, you don't, the way you remember is that he wasn't the original proprietor of the Feather Clutch. It was a different group that started it, and then he like bought it from them, or they sold it, or whatever. Either way, like he was a more recent procurer of that. But both are reasonable institutions.
The Golden Cup.
The Golden Cup. Okay. So the closest one, I think, right? That's 18. Yep, the Golden Cup. Okay, going to the Golden Cup. So going up to the door, you'd see that the hitching post, no animals up in front. The place does not seem to be lively right now. It seems to be closed. That's what you would guess based on that there's no presence. But inns have doors that close, so you could try the door and see if it's actually closed for business right now.
Sure, give it a try.
It is closed for business right now. It is not open, and you've never known it to not be open. So this could be a variety of reasons why, but it's not open right now. You just out of courtesy, you knocked, no answer. The institution seems shut.
All right, we'll check. It's just weird. In general sense, but let's check the Feather Clutch just to be sure.
Okay. Going up to the Feather Clutch, same situation. Gathering of information you guys had previously about the city, and then the city is kind of like half the population is estimated to be hit now, right? Sick. Either those people are fighting for their lives and they're at home fighting for their lives, or they ran away, or they're dead, right? But these institutions are closed and locked, and no one's responding to either one of them. And that just kind of helps. It just really helps profile for you. It's how collapsed Westwind is, right? It's one of the big hubs for Windheim, and that's why it was such a big topic for one High Chandler.
Yes. Yeah, let's go to the side street and talk. And you'll kind of guide them to one of the side streets.
A side street?
Yeah.
And what are you looking for? Just randomly exploring?
No, just a side street that we can kind of
congregate. You get away from get to an alley and get out of immediate line of sight. Yeah, sure. So you and Heartseeker get away from the main thoroughways and get into an alley where there's no one. There is some seagulls overhead. They're calling. And you're reminded that you are in a port city right now. As you guys kind of gather into this alleyway, what do you want to do?
We never got to discuss the actual plans before we come into Westwind. I think now we can kind of just the general idea, honestly.
What about my plan about tracking down before the onset of the plague?
Yeah, I mean...
Yes, it's a good idea. That's an excellent idea. Let's not go anywhere near Wormsworth.
I mean, I think we have to go to Wormsworth.
No, I don't think we have
to. I'd like to actually try and cure one of the people that are sick.
Maybe we should, Wait, you want to try your...
Well, there is a whole other portion of the city we could go to, right? This lower section you spoke of. So we could go there and wander around there before we start making such difficult choices.
We could. I mean,
I'm fine with any direction. I don't protest. Just on Bodrick's benefit, we do have other options we could pursue before we have to rely upon the Wormsworth individuals.
Yeah, that's more of a plan B, plan C, plan D option. Plan D for
Just really threw it down.
Baldric, I think we're gonna have to just get on. You're gonna get on board with the fact that we're gonna have to eventually talk with someone from Wormsworth.
Yes.
What? I didn't quite hear you.
I believe he was sent here by wind.
So I hear some calling for help on the breeze out there.
I'm just saying, there's a fraction of the people here, a fraction of what it used to be.
So,
I mean, I can only imagine what the Jaws would be like.
The Jaws is what was the most populated portion of the city.
So you know this place better than the rest of us. So you would probably know where to go to talk to people. But outside of that, there's this masquerade happening. Apparently 2 of them. One upper city, one lower.
Yeah, were you... Maybe they'll have some answers. But I mean, if we...
A wise Wandor.
I guess for now, let's explore the Jaws and hope that there's more people about, I suppose. Yeah, fine. We will avoid Wormsworth Associates, yes?
For now.
Alright. And I guess Roger will lead them back to the coil to eventually head into the Jaws.
Okay.
Jaws.
So, you guys leave the Underlook. Walk by a couple guards, they're patrolling. And then get in front of... Hey, Krista, can you, like, not be grid, please? Alright. And get into the front gate.
Rude.
And as you come around the corner, you can immediately go to the left to the front gate to the Jaws, or you could try to go the Overlook, but it sounds like you're ignoring that. So, going to the gate in front of the coil, which is the ramp that leads down to the Jaws, there's a man. There's a couple people. There's about 2 to the left, to your left. They're kind of like by the wall, by the wall itself. The gate is currently open. And there's one man who's kind of up in the center, like on the road, kind of barring the path, right? And at the 2 there to the left are kind of like talking, conspiring, and they're kind of like laughing about something. It sounds like one of them's telling a long story to the other one. They're not really paying attention to their duty. They're probably present in case they're needed. You can also see that above you, because in front of the gate, there is the wall to the left from the Underlook, and then there's the wall to the right from the Overlook. And they are close to the same height, but the Overlook wall is a little bit taller, right, about 5 feet higher in height. And you can see that there are some guards up there on each of the respective walls on the left and right of you. And they have like what appears to be crossbows available to them, right, to help defend the front wall. So there is a presence of soldiers here, right? But the guy in front, who is kind of just like lounging, as you guys approach him, you see him kind of like, he like stops, like almost if he's like spacing out. He kind of looks at all of you, and he's not wearing the full heavy like hazmat woolen clothing you saw other soldiers, and like they were more involved in the city. He's wearing standard garb, which is just with like the face covering it, like the handkerchief, right? And so as you guys approach him and then kind of stop without your animals. Right. Private, public, personal.
What? You're asking where we're from?
Private,
we're from out of town.
Public, personal. Your business. Why you've come to Westwind. During the Silent Plague. Gods know you ain't got no goods or wagons on you. So, kind of limits the options, so, but why have you come here? Bit strange,
Well,
isn't it?
Not really for business. We're not making money off of this, but we are a level of esteemed individuals who came out here to see if we could help. We're sort of, I guess, competitors to Wormsworth's association, but more altruistic in nature to actually help the people out here.
Private business.
Correct.
Yes.
I suppose too. But in term, it impacts the public.
So you're not... Are you backed by someone like our fair lady, then? Am
No, we're more east. We're not really from the western states. So, if you had to say someone was backing us, I don't know. We got a lead from Windheim to come over here and investigate. I can see you're very suspicious of us, and I can assure you we have the utmost best intentions. Indubitably. I have a few questions for you. Well, how long ago did the outbreak start?
I'm sorry, you said you had questions for me.
Well, yes, you've been
I
here.
don't think you understand how this is. I'm asking you questions, because I'll get to decide who comes in the city or not.
Baldric, be careful. They might
Yes,
throw
sir,
us in the gullet. They did this earlier.
We really,
what
we are
answers?
here to help. We did hear from Westwind there was trouble here, and we were hoping that maybe we could assist in some manner.
Right, from Windheim. So what is this business? And don't give me that shite that it's personal or private. Can you give me some more details as to what it is you're doing, how you plan to do it?
Well, we're investigating to find the root cause of what's ailing the people here, and we're here to stop it. We're trying to cure people.
And how are you profiting from this?
We're not profiting from it.
We're not.
You're
We just
telling
want to
me.
help.
You're
Thork is
going
gonna jump in.
and he kind of just, like,
Yes, he's an
yeah.
altruistic. Yes.
All the way from
Whoa.
the east, you say? Come here
Yes.
on a death run, hoping that you have some miracle cure.
No, we're just trying to save lives. That's it. You've heard of the other calamities in New World Soul's history, right? Well, we think we're on the edge of one, and we're trying to stop it from happening.
It goes
And
without
also, it's
saying.
not a death run. We have some prevention against disease.
It goes without saying, but if we are
No.
able to find this miracle cure for whatever this ailment is, it's not going to be a very wasted effort, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, you're a Venerian,
If successfully,
aren't you?
we bring in a lot of... Sorry.
He's looking towards Dama.
You're a Venerian, aren't you?
Armor speaks for itself.
Uh-huh. Well, some kind of, guarded stuff, huh? You can, help disease and the like, you say? With your, blessings?
To some degree.
Huh.
I haven't actually encountered the disease yet. So I've been wanting to try and cure someone.
Well, if you're looking to help with the sickness, if I was your lot, I'd work with the Wormsworth Association. But it sounds like, and he looks towards Baldric, you're a little bit of, opposing them, huh? Not on the same side. Which will
yeah,
just
I
cause a
think
little bit of
Great Doctor
chaos
is
and
on his
confusion for us townfolk who are already suffering so much as it is. I don't know if I want those kind of people inside my city. Huh?
We should not cause any trouble.
Please, sir. Perhaps, I don't know. Is there a trifle I could pay a passage?
I want to insight this guy. Has he been bought? Has he been bought by the Wormsworth Association?
He's wearing their
to block
pin.
us?
He's wearing their pin.
Is he-
Okay, so FYI, an insight can't. That's like you're going way. You have to ask him a question that would then, and then he has answered, and you can kind of gauge is that answer a lie or not, right? There has been nothing that you could narrow it to that kind of answer,
Oh, that's
Kyle.
brilliant.
So sorry, I couldn't allow a roll for that. Not here. You haven't engineered this response that could narrow it down to that for you. I want to insight this tree to see if the gods are present. Like, there's a limit.
Yeah, but the thing is that he's putting up such barriers of
Yeah, so
animosity that it feels like
But you
could
started
insight
it.
why is he being like, you could insight like, why is he being so defensive, right? Like that, and I could be like, well, he just doesn't trust you, right? But you couldn't know that he's the Wormsworth Association bought him off. That
you could
would be
investigate.
impossible.
You can look him up and down and be like, hey, I noticed he's got that blue handkerchief
That's not
tucked in his
insight,
pocket
then.
at all.
That's
not
All of them
insight.
have. He's got. But Okay, can I do some sort of deduction here to see if he is on the up and up?
There, at face value, there is nothing that implies that he is a Wormsworth associate, an associate of the Wormsworth Association. Let's say
He's wearing like the guard.
He's
gear,
wearing.
like
He
guard.
is a scale-scarred knight wearing scale-scarred equipment with a blue handkerchief of the dark blue tint that all the other scale-scarred soldiers basically have. He's not wearing the hazmat suits that the other people are, so he doesn't seem to be that affiliated to them. He seems to be a standard soldier that's in Westwind.
Please, sir, I know your time is valuable. I'll pay any price to get through. We just need to get this done.
Yeah, how are you going to get it done? That's what I want to know. Because I get enough folks promising all sorts of shite when they come in. Oh, I have tonics that can cure anything. I'm here to help people. Oh, I have gods helping me. Shit like that. And you know what? They come in and they take money from the people here who already have nothing available to them. We don't need no scoundrels or conners coming in here and making things worse than they already are. So I'm just doing my job, which is to protect the city from folk that are trying to fuck it. You can claim all you want, but at the moment, ain't really cutting my gear because you're not giving me the details I'd like to hear. You came from the east out of personal altruistic intentions, you say. Well, that's mighty kind of you all to come all the way out here, risk getting sick. Did you know that the sickness apparently came from Westwind? Going in beyond these walls here, it's pretty much a death sentence. Are you sure you want to do that? You fine folk with, what do I best I can imagine? You are her entourage of protection? Because she's the only one that seems to have any influence amongst your group. Just isn't quite riding up, right? The store ain't quite adding up with the what you've given me.
There's a chance we've encountered something similar elsewhere, and we just are trying to see if the dots connect. And if they do, maybe we can help. We may not be able to help, but we want to try.
Make a persuasion check.
God damn.
Alright. I can buy a little bit of that. Do you have any idea how you're going to help? Is this guy just going to go around cleansing random people and hope for the best? If that's the case, boy, I would recommend going to the Radio Cove. A bunch of Wormsworth have taken over that facility and very much made it their headquarters. And then they have the Radiant Ray there. You can kind of group up with the bishop and see if there's anything that he would recommend you do. So you could go do that. That might be a way to...
What we really need is information about how this happened, where it started.
Right, we're trying...
What
and when.
Yeah, the timeline of it. What we really need information on.
Yeah,
But also, how far is this Radiant Cove?
It's in the Underlook. That's where you could go to hook up with Wormsworth and see how you could assist them if you are trying to help people, which is what they're trying to do. That wouldn't be this gate, though. That would be back the way you came. Up there. But I don't really have the details of when, how, or what. That stuff's not given to all of us at our level here, right?
Well, you've heard rumors, so you're just saying it sounds like it came from within the city, so you might have had some sort of...
That's what they say, old man. Somehow in the city. I ain't got no ideas. Alright?
Is there anyone we could ask?
Do you have a rough guess of when this outbreak started?
A couple months back.
Alright.
It started from the Jaws? Or...
Jaws definitely is the most, afflicted, but it also was the most populated, congested too. So, whenever plagues come in the past, it's always been hit the hardest. I don't got no idea. I ain't one of them learned types. I trained the sword, that's why I am a Scale Squad Knight.
Does this area have like a repository of things, like records of people before the outbreak? We have a sinking suspicion that maybe there's populaces disappearing from before the outbreak happened.
I mean, you're of course free to go into the town and ask around. You could stop by Minister Fairbanks. She's got a bunch of records there. So does the, what's-her-face up on the Underlook. Falsana, I think. Either one of them. You could reach out to them. They have Mormons. That's a place you could go if you want to establish with the institution of Our Fair Lady. Obviously, if you were able to get into the Overlook, you would have gone there first, so I don't think you have those permissions.
Not yet.
But, alright, I think you're earnest enough. If you want to enter the city, I'll let you into the city. But I'm warning you. You go in there, it's probably going to be the last choice you're ever going to make. This is your chance to turn back and to keep your lives. But it's your life to throw away. Gigs! He snaps his finger, and one of the two guys to the left, a relatively larger individual who's got a very, long dome on the top of his head. It's slightly misshapen. Oh yeah? Come over here. Got to have you check these folk. Yeah, I'll be right there. And this man makes his way, and he has a slight limp, as if his hips are just slightly misaligned. Baldric, with your medicine, you can tell that this guy he's slightly deformed, right? The head shape's a little off. His skeletal structure's probably a little abnormal, right? But he approaches, and he's wearing Wormsworth attire. He has a Wormsworth badge on his lapel, right? And as he comes up with a scarf, it's a white scarf that's very, very common for the Wormsworth folks. Pleasant to meet you folks. I'm just gonna take a peek at you and your stuff, if that's all right.
Mm-hmm.
And then he waves his hands and casts Detect Poison Disease instantly. He's not doing it as a ritual. Just does it instantly. And he just starts examining all of you.
Can I take a look at your your belongings, please?
Oh, you should have stuttered on that.
Please.
So do you guys take your belongings off for him?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, so then he examines your belongings, and after about 12 minutes, so 10 minutes in, he has to cast Detect Magic, detect the poison and disease again, which he does instantly. And then he concludes looking through all the remaining belongings.
Nothing wrong, Goff. They're pristine.
All right,
Good job, kids. Looks like your folks are free to go in. But it's your funeral.
and he actually steps aside to as if inviting you to go down the gate if you want to go into the jaws.
Is there any other things we wanted to hunt for up here first, before we go down?
Really think we should talk to the Wormsworth Associates.
The ones up here.
Yeah.
Fine. Fine.
There's some down there too, right in the main courtyard. You can talk to them there. Just they might not be as with the big wigs. You have to go to the radio code for that, or I guess the administrator.
You think Worms are supposed to actually be there?
He is here. We were told, I believe.
I have no
We
idea.
just don't know where.
I've had no one say anything like that to me. If he is, not been privy to me.
Do you know if anyone from Windtime other than us has come through here?
Make a persuasion check.
$23? No.
23, okay. We've had a couple.
Yeah, 23.
Can't really recall. Wasn't me on watch when they came through. But, I've heard that a few from Windheim have come.
Are they in the city still, do you think?
I have no idea.
DM.
Yes.
From the Rise of the Ravenous, I'm alerting individual. Was that a straight up disease when the thralls were gesticulating other people? Or was it some other contagion spread?
Make a history check.
Okay. Alright, well, 7 plus 5 is 12. Nuts.
You don't know the specifics of it. You could have sworn Niera mentioned her interpretation of the events. After all, she lived through some of it. So something was there she mentioned that might answer that, but nothing immediately, like, you don't have a confirmation from scholarly text. But you could have swore it sounds like you kind of like part of your brain's like, I think she mentioned something about possibly one way, but I can't quite remember what it was. Fortunately. So there could be a lead there.
Alright.
Do you guys want to move down to the coil?
I mean, yeah, we did all this effort, right? we might as well, right? Unless we're gonna go and talk to Warrenstrom before going down there, you know.
I think we should, because I think he said the bigger wigs are up here in the Radio Cove, so maybe we should start there.
There's 3 points of governance that you would have access to that he's referring to. Wormsworth Associates are apparently headquartered at the Radio Cove with the bishop that's over there and his Radiant Ray. You could go to the Serpine Circuit and talk with Falsina, the administrator of Falsina, or you could go into the Jaws and go to the Conver Hall where Administrator Fairbanks happens to be residing. These are the 3 interaction points of like governmental people or higher ranked people to go. So either you could go in either direction actually.
I suppose we probably should start with the upper area. As this gentleman's mentioned out, once we go in, probably on a clock to figure it out before we ourselves could succumb to it. So the more information we have from Wormsworth and all the other people up here, probably the better armed we are to try to tackle it before, well, you know, bad things happen to us.
Alright. We'll touch radio open.
We'll be back. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
As you turn and head back the direction you came, there's suddenly a very large screeching noise coming from the center of the city, from the Jaws. It's a little bit more north from you, and you're kind of like looking a little bit more northwest, but it's west and a little bit north, but towards the middle. Roderick's familiar with this noise. This is a very loud noise. It occasionally happens, maybe once to twice a day, very in a populated when the city was much more populated. But a massive metal grinding against metal noise. And it's far enough away where you're not like immediately next to it, so it's not like breaking your ears, but it's loud enough, and it's even though it's distant, far from you, you guys can hear this screeching, this high metal vibration coming from the inner of the city.
God, I just got a flashback to the mountains. What was that?
As that's happening, there's a bunch of like birds from the city that have like scattered skyward, and you just see a bunch of seagulls kind of like flying around. They're all cawing and like random random cacophony of chaos flying around. And the soldier, Garf, in front of you, he grumbles to himself. Roderick, you would know that noise comes from the this elevator that's built into the side of the Overlook, which would be number 7 here, called Goal Lift is the name they give it, because whenever it's used, the goals go crazy. And apparently someone's using it. This thing is not a cheap effort. Like, their energy has to be used to activate the goal lift, and so it's a privilege, a luxury the rich use to not have to go all the way through the gates and come around, but rather those that are really well endowed with the city can use the goal lift to just do a little bit of a shortcut to go from the Overlook down to the Jaws, right? So someone either is going up from the Jaws or is coming down from the Overlook right now. But you guys turn and leave after you hear like all these seagulls you see them flying around and freaking out back out in the Jaws, and make your way to the front of the city, and then go back into the Underlook, of which we'll get you right back here to the junction. You get a choice of which direction you'd like to go. Do you want to go to the Radio Cove, or do you want to go to the Serpine Circuit?
Well, Radio Cove is going to give us the most recent things that probably happened. Whatever that lady's name was, probably going to give us the up, or I can't remember. Fairbanks is down here, or Fairbanks is up there?
Fairbanks is down low.
So I guess we're going to talk to Fairbanks, maybe, and get more historical context information.
Well, yeah. What do you want? Do you want to start?
I'm just
really taking every step you can to avoid Wormsworth.
That's not it. It's really not. That's not it at all. It's what it is. No. I mean, yes, he's an awful person. Yes, but what I mean is that if we go talk to Wormsworth, we're going to get. Oh, here's what I'm doing in this area right now, and we're talking. I'm more interested in what happened before the actual outbreak happened, right? I mean, the coincidence of the Hollywood harvest. I feel like people disappearing would have started happening before, as they were formulating their plan and figuring how they could spread contagions like that. So I feel like there'd be missing people and stuff. That we could use those as clues to kind of triangulate where maybe the Hollow Harvests are situated throughout the area. We could triangulate, and then, well, and I point over to a call, smack a few windpipes in, and then voila. End of the affliction. Assuming that's them. If it's straight up medicinal, actual just a disease that's spread around and not some sort of, demonic influence or something like that, then Wormsworth would hopefully be able to start tackling it, if a conventional means were going to work. But for it to have gotten so bad, I suspect that good old practice of medicine is not gonna do it.
Yeah, but I think they still might have information about at least the origins of what happened, wouldn't they?
Maybe up to the point of where the general people are starting to exude the signs. I'm more curious about the pre-parts, though. That's just my thinking behind it. My acquaintanceship with Wormsworth is not really swaying or biasing my opinion at all. No, this is sound reasoning. I see you all not fine. Let's just go talk to the Wormsworth. Fine, you're all just giving me this slant eye. And you all just jump. Why is everyone like that man so much? Oh, Wormsworth this, Wormsworth that. No, I see him. He's won you over already. He's won you all over. You haven't even met him yet, and you're all like, "Oh, Wormsworth's so great." Oh,
how can we like him if we haven't met him yet? We can't like him if we haven't met him yet. But I think that they may have information that
he's a scoundrel. I'll tell you, he's ruined my life. His shady tactics, I tell you, shady. Fine. You have to see for yourself. Let's do this then. Fine, let's go over there.
Find out how shady Wormsworth really is.
No one can trust Baldrick's advice. What he knows.
You guys go to the radio cove while Baldrick mumbles to himself. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Cutting down the city.
You just gotta let them talk it through sometimes.
You eventually get to like the last major block, and in the block there's kind of near the center of it. There's this like abnormally like wide circle, and in the center of that circle is this very circular temple, right? The radio cove. There's one main entrance in the front with like several arches that you like walk underneath. I don't know if Roderick was incredibly religious in his heyday, so I don't know how often you've been through the radio cove, but regardless, the most of you have never been here. So walking underneath these arches, there's like what probably was once a pretty garden to the left and the right in between these like columns that make the arches. It looks like the grounds have not been tended to very carefully. The what probably once was space for pristine and good vegetation has become much more, not diseased, but like aged and overgrown and invasive species of plants that like grow in abundance and are hard to deal with. Weeds and thatch, like berry bushes stuff, right? It's stuff that's not appealing really to the eye. And it only could have happened if they just stopped caring for the front landscape, basically completely, for it to have gotten like this bad. Moving past that, you eventually get into this what would be a large entranceway with it's maybe about 12 to 13 feet tall. There's this like white frame that kind of follows the same pillar aesthetic that you kind of came through underneath. And on the side of this like mostly gray building, there's like this what appears to be like one like marble accent for the archway, and there's a door there, and the doors are currently cracked open a bit, where you could push them all the way open and maybe it'd be like 20 feet wide, so 4 people could come in and leave at this like shoulder to shoulder at the same time. But it's only cracked open enough to allow basically people to come in single file at this point in time. There's no immediate guards. There's no immediate people in the grounds. But as you get to that front door, you can see like in the crack where it's 5 feet wide, between the two doors that have been kind of bent inward, you do see there's people moving around in the interior of the Radiant Cove. So there are people present currently at this point in time inside it, and you could just walk in if you wanted to. Presumably you guys do such, and so single file you enter into this space. Where is it? Isn't it? Oh, you know what? It's called that, isn't it? Yeah. So entering into the Radial Cove, vaulted ceilings, right? There's a circular bend to like everything around you. It's not an oval like a coliseum, but it's multiple floors and it's a wide circle like that. And then what you get is there's effectively, as soon as you enter the front hallway, it becomes this massive circle. And the very center of the circle, there's like this dais in the middle, and there's this like depiction along the ground of like a star with like these like triangles around the circle to kind of imply a star. And there's just this circular geometry in the facility. And in each corner, symmetrically placed, there is a statue, a silhouette of an approximation of what people imagine the divine look like. So there appears to be in one space that there is a woman, a beautiful woman with wings coming out of her back, standing there with like a staff in hand. She would be effectively an angelic, right? She would be where like your idea of an angel would be, but angels aren't a classified terminology, right? But after you guys met Aniel, right? So there's that kind of like similarity of like Aniel to Venahira, but this would be probably a depiction of Venahira. And there's another section with a woman that has like what looks like feathers for hair, and she is a little bit taller, a couple inches taller than the angeled woman. and that would probably be Eleanor. And then there is another statue of an elven individual who looks strikingly similar to the silhouette of that profile in the Tree of Marlesh, which clearly is probably a depiction of the elven deity of nature, Marlesh. Another individual that is of a profile of what looks like the silhouette of a humanoid, and that individual has somehow they carved into it these like jagged lines to actually give off the appearance that there looks like there's like almost electricity obfuscating this guy's finer detail. So it looks more like it's like a silhouette, almost like like a lightning elemental in the profile of a human. That must be Vlad. And then you have the depiction of a bust, not the full glory, but the bust of a large neck and a draconic head, and the dragon is currently has its head turned down with its eye looking towards the center of the courtyard, the dais, right? All of these divine are looking towards the middle. This bust must be that of Drabalor. And then, what are we missing? Yes, the formless one. There is one pedestal that has nothing on it, but you guys would, if anyone with even default lore of the divine, would know that that must be dedicated to Jalzem, the one of his titles being the formless one. So I think that's covered the 6 main divine. Of course, there is no pedestal for Kixluni because she's not in the Celestial Court.
Hey,
Well, that's debatable.
To go for. You got a phone call, so we have to call it here.
Oh, okay.
Phone calls today.
Well, then, if he's out, then yeah, I guess we could just stop the session here. Shoot. It's not where I intended it to end, but that's fine.
Sorry, he got the bad news. So.
Did he say he's going?
He got the bad news. So.
Okay, then we'll go
Not
ahead
a good
and
phone call then. Jesus.
we'll call it here then, folks. So sorry about the abrupt stop. But hey, check us out next week, and then Primerus Paradox tomorrow. And remember, don't trust the Dungeon Master.
Don't trust worms.
Trust the member.
Don't
Catch you
trust
next
the
week.
Wormsworth Association.
Bye.